What's up, everyone? Yep, that goes there. And then we go over here. This goes there. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Chris? Hey, what's up? What's up, Lizzie? How's it going? How's it going, Juno? Good to see you, Lou. How's everyone doing? I'm doing pretty well. Whoa. Make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. I feel like if a dog chews shoes, whose shoes does he choose? Do I follow Kantian ethics? I think Kantian ethics get at something that's true. I think that Kant correctly evaluates the fact that whatever like the true ethics are, it's going to need to be something that we all have reason to do. It needs to stem from our own ends, and we need to work towards like what an objective morality is based off of the things that everybody is committed to within their own ends. So Kant argues that everybody is committed to the value of autonomy, the value of agency, just within their own ends, because they would need to value their own agency, and then logical consistency demands that they value agency as like a property itself. So then you must just value all agents by extension of that. I'm not sure that I agree with the argument. I think it's interesting. In fact, I think it probably does establish something. But I'm more inclined to think that like the true morals is that everyone has a right to freedom and well-being, because you need to value freedom and well-being, basically. Whoa, did somebody defend Anselm's ontological argument? Oh boy, that's like the worst one. That's like seriously like the worst one. Listen, bud, if you want to come up and debate Anselm's ontological argument, I just think you're going to be a bit disappointed. I think that the counterexample of which no greater can be conceived is gonna annihilate Anselm's ontological argument for some reason. But hey, if you want to debate this topic, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. That one's easy. That one's like light work. That one's trivial even, one might say. But yeah, if you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. I also ask that you have some sort of reason to think that God exists, some sort of like argument or whatnot. Unique New York, unique New York, unique New York. You know New York, you need New York. You know you need unique New York. All right, let's go to the first guest. Wood chopper? You mean woodchuck? How much wood would woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck you wood as much as he couldn't chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. But
Yo.
Hey, how's it going? How old are you?
Yo, I'm 18.
Yeah, what religion?
You said what? Oh, I'm Christian.
Yeah, what makes you think that God exists?
Listen, like I just feel like God exists because I just feel like how did we get here? Like I feel like it has to be something like magical. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure. I mean, have you like looked deeply into how we got here? You know, there's an entire branch of science dedicated to this exact question.
The thing is, I'm a Christian, but like I'm not like a crazy Christian, but like I just feel like it got to be something like. I feel like it got to be something magical on how we got here, though. Like,
that just doesn't really seem to engage with what I just said, right? Have you ever looked into this? Have you looked into things like evolutionary biology, the evidence for evolution?
Yes, but I don't believe in evolution, though.
Oh, why not?
I just don't feel like it's real, though.
Why not?
It just don't make sense, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
What about it?
Like, just everything. Like, it just don't add up.
Can you name like 2 facts about evolution?
But I don't believe in evolution.
I know, but like, what's your understanding of evolution?
I only believe in like one evolution.
I'm just trying to meet you where you're at. So I guess like
Like that,
what do you know about
like
evolution? Like what's your understanding of it?
like I learned about it in biology, but I don't remember much. I know.
Okay, I think that guy's probably trolling. All right, make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. If you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. With that, we'll go to the very next guest. Hey, how's it going?
You're a fucking bitch.
Okay. That hurts my feelings. That makes me so sad to have like a literal child call me a bitch. That's so sad. What's up? How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. How old are you?
26.
Yep. And what religion?
I'm Muslim.
Yeah, what makes you think that God exists?
That we're here, you know?
That we're here, sure. Why wouldn't we be here if God didn't exist?
Repeat that. You broke up for a second.
Why wouldn't we be here if God didn't exist?
Why would we be here if God didn't exist? I don't know, bro. I guess I don't know. Our parents gave birth to us, and
Yeah, why wouldn't that happen unless God existed?
I don't know. You tell me, bro. I'm not the smartest, this guy in the world.
I don't think we have a reason to think that it wouldn't have happened, you know. It could have happened if God existed, and it could happen if God didn't exist. So I'm not really sure that the fact that we're here right now should lead you to believe that God exists, because it could, we could have been here and God didn't exist.
I guess you could say that. But let me ask you. Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Like, let's say hypothetically, we all, once we die and stuff, like what if God is real? Like, how would you feel after?
I'd probably say, as I like burn forever or something.
You think you go to hell?
I mean, in Islam, yeah, it says all non-believers go to hell in Islam.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's right. But no, not all. Like, eventually, like,
No, it
you'll
says
go to
all.
hell. No, I know, but eventually, like, you'll get out of hell.
No, it says all non-believers go to hell forever. I can cite you some passages on this.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I read somewhere, or I heard someone told me that like eventually, like, God will forgive you.
Yeah, it's just not true. It's kind of affirmed. Unfortunately, it's just kind of affirmed like over and over and over again that for non-believers, it's like infinite torture forever. One sec, let me pull up a verse.
Well, do you hate God or something?
No, I don't think he's real. But those who disbelieve and deny our signs will be the residents of the fire. They will be there forever. That's 239. We got 3364.
Okay. Wouldn't it like be like easier on your heart if you knew that like you had something to believe in? You know what I mean? Like,
I believe in lots of things, right? But what's really comforting to me is that my beliefs are true. I know that when I act in specific ways that I'm going to be able to accomplish things. And the constraint that exists isn't like some fucking magic out there. The constraint that exists is like real stuff that you can understand and analyze.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's way more empowering to believe true things.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's just having faith and stuff. But like, Islam and like science kind of go like hand to hand. Like,
in what way?
There's a lot of passages that's in the Quran that meets with science, like with the water, the salt and the fresh water meeting and not touching. That was in the Quran, and like the embryos.
Wait, sorry. Let's go one at a time. So the first one about like okay. The problem is, I guess there's like kind of two problems, which is that there's like a ton of waters where they do mix, right? The place where the salt water and the fresh water meet, they literally mix. So it's just not true. It forms what's called brackish water. Additionally, there are places where it does this that are fairly close to the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, my understanding of that specific verse is that it's talking about the meeting of like the fresh water of heaven with the salt water of the earth, that it's like metaphorical. It's not meant literally. So it just seems like kind of on every level that source fails to demonstrate evidence.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just do like more research on it, but like you're a pretty smart guy. I'll give you that,
Hey, thanks. Do you have anything else?
No, bro. You have a good day, bro.
Yeah, you too. Make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. If you are in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. And with that, we'll go to the very next guest. Let's get him on up in here. Hey, how's it going?
Hello?
Yeah, how old are you?
Yeah, I'm 19.
And what religion?
Christian, I have a question for you. How do you ground your morality in like
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. I think that you can ground your morality in laws of logic. I think that there are like certain logical commitments that everyone must make. Otherwise, there's a contradiction on their worldview, which means that the true morality is going to be achievable just kind of through laws of logic.
So like in forms of like contradictions, like being ensued via like say killing somebody.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Like a
I think I've
contradiction in
heard
like the
this
belief
argument before.
system of the killer, yeah.
Yeah, so would you take you would take killing like or like AI generated child pornography to be immoral, right?
Yeah.
But like why would that be immoral under your view if it's not like would you ensue a contradiction from that or what?
Yeah. So insofar as everybody's trying to achieve the good life and they're pursuing the good life, what's going to be required for that is going to be like an accurate reading of reality and an accurate disposition towards like various things. So if you're disposed to feeling like sexual attraction in response to like images of like naked children getting tortured or whatever, yeah, there's something's gone very wrong here. You know, you're disposed towards objectification. That's not good.
So what if the person doing so had like absolutely zero attraction to that
What are they
like
doing it
video?
for? You need to be more specific about the scenario. I really don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so like say this person gets an AI prompt that generates child pornography, and they just do that because they I guess they feel like or they're bored. They want to see if they can, right? Why would that be immoral?
They want to see if they can. I see. And is it to like, I don't know, report it to the FBI that this AI exists and is doing that, or they just want to do it like for their own purpose? Because, for example, I think that there are like, you know, if you went out there and you were trying to like see if it could work and for the purpose of like reporting it to the authorities to make sure that they shut it down or something, I think that that would be permissible if you did it like a single time and then reported it. But you know, certainly it's not going to be like permissible to do it for no reason or to do it for fun or to do it for like one of those things.
Well, but yeah. Why is that impermissible under your view if they're not doing it for like any sexual attraction?
Yeah, so it's going to come down to an evaluation of their ends, like the way that their actions fit into like their ends overall.
Okay, so like what ends would it fit into?
That's what I'm asking, right? Like what in this circumstance, like to what end are they doing this?
Just for because they want to see if they can, and then they're going to like
Towards what end?
just forget about it right afterwards.
Towards what end?
Towards the end of them achieving AI generated child pornography.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I got that. But like towards what end? Because if there's no end, if there's no like further end that it's towards, then the problem is that it's going to be an irrational action insofar as you're taking actions for no reason. So that would be impermissible. But I mean, also to be clear, like the Bible gives you no basis for like refusing something like this or for condemning something like that.
I know. I'm just like asking under your worldview. So
oh wait, but if you agree that your worldview doesn't have a solution for it, then it's kind of curious why you're even asking about my worldview.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I don't really study the Bible. I just kind of.
What religion are you?
Christian.
Yeah. Okay, so why would AI generated child porn be bad under your view?
So I guess like the same reason that it would be bad under your view.
Okay, sure. Is there anything else you wanted to ask?
That's all I can.
I always find it. I'm like tickled by the fact that it seems like Christians can't help but flee their morality towards secular ethics. Well, make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. If you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. With that we will go to The very next guest. Hey, how's it going?
Yo, bro. Yo.
Yep. How old are you?
Hey, what?
How old are you?
You like mommy ASMR, bro?
Oh, you want to be cuddled?
Oh. The fuck? Okay, that was kind of weird. Well. Hey, how's it going?
Fuck you, your mom's
Goddamn fetus gets in here, stumbles over the insult, face plants immediately, then gets kicked. Brutal. Spawn killed even. Dude rolled a nat 1 on the charisma check. Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good, bro. How you doing?
Yeah, doing well. How old are you?
I'm 26.
Yep. And what religion?
Religion? I'm not religious. I'm just spiritual.
Do you think that God exists?
I do.
Yeah, sure. What makes you think that God exists?
Well, I just feel like we're just infinite atoms that are just inside of this body.
First of all,
And-
that's not true. But like, second of all, even if it was, like, so what?
Wait. Before I get to my, truths, I just want to know why you don't believe.
Yeah, I think that there are problems with the idea that God created. So, okay, in order to create, that's going to involve like changing reality. Ooh, what the fuck? Are you like pulling down like a garage door in the background? Am I in like a wind tunnel right now? Are you there? Yeah, it's okay. I guess I'll just go move on to the next one then. Hey, how's it going?
Hello?
Yep, how old are you?
18.
Yeah, and what religion?
I'm just deist. I am just deist.
Yeah, what makes you think that God exists?
Well, you have like tons of arguments by like very smart people.
Like what?
You have like the Kalam cosmological argument.
I think the Kalam is pretty self-defeating.
The fine-tuning one.
Wait, let's go one argument at a time. Let's start with the Kalam. Do you think that God's act of creation began to exist, or do you think that it always existed?
I think it always existed.
Yeah, well, then the universe never came into existence. Like, the universe didn't begin to exist because God had eternally created it, so the universe is just eternal, right? The Kalam is self-defeating.
He can create eternal things.
Nope, not if you want to run the Kalam, he can't. The Kalam's premise is that the universe began to exist, but if God was eternally creating the universe, then the universe just eternally exists, so it doesn't begin to exist.
It can be eternal and begin to exist.
Nope, those two are directly contradictory. What eternal means is that something exists, but it doesn't begin to exist.
That's not what eternal means.
What do you think eternal means?
Eternal means that it can have like a cause, but it is there forever.
You think eternal means that it can have a cause, so God can have a cause?
Yes.
You think God is caused?
No, it can have a cause. God doesn't have a cause.
Okay, but God can have a cause.
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree that the cause of a necessary thing must itself be necessary?
I'm not sure what that even ask.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That probably is going to go like way above your head. So, do you think that God's act of creation began to exist, or do you think that it did not begin to exist?
When you say as active creation, you're talking about the universe, right?
No, like the proximate cause. Like when God took the action that necessitates that creation exists, that's his act of creation. So, did God's act of creation begin to exist, or did it not begin to exist?
It did begin to exist, but it was eternal.
Oh, sure. But if it began to exist, then it had a cause. So then God doesn't stop the infinite regress.
How?
Because one of the premises of the Kalam is that everything that begins to exist has a cause, and you just said that God's act of creation began to exist, which means that it must have a cause.
I don't see the problem with that in the Kalam argument.
It just necessitates that there's like this infinite regress of causes, which then undermines premise 2 that the universe began to exist.
Can you tell me what an infinite regress is? I'm not sure what that
Yeah, it's like when there's like, okay, so we have this moment, and this moment has a cause, and then the moment before that is a cause, and then the moment before that is a cause, and then the moment before that is a cause, and it just goes back forever. It goes back infinitely. It's an infinite regress.
Okay, so you're saying that if there's an infinite regress, then premise 2
If
is,
God's act of creation, so what the Kalam is trying to do, the Kalam is trying to make it so that there's a beginning to the sequence of causes, but you blew right through the beginning to the sequence by saying that God's act of creation begins to exist, because according to the Kalam, everything that begins to exist has a cause, and God's act of creation began to exist, which means that God's act of creation would then need to be caused.
Yeah, and then he goes on and causes other things.
But what causes God's act of creation?
God himself.
Yeah. I guess okay, and God's eternal. Is God eternally producing is God producing without beginning his act of creation?
Is God producing with, wait, can you say that again?
Is God producing without beginning his act of creation?
No, I don't think so.
You said God causes it, but then God's not sufficient for it, so then God can't be the complete explanation of it.
How is he not sufficient?
Because you said that, well, okay, so God always exists. God's act of creation doesn't always exist. So then God simply existing can't be a sufficient explanation for his act of creation, insofar as there's going to be states of reality where God exists and his act of creation doesn't.
Yes, those are the states where he actually
so God is insufficient for it. You would need something additional to make it come about.
Okay, so something sufficient, right? And what could that sufficient being be? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, that thing would need to come into existence too, so even that would need a cause. There's kind of no way out of this one. The Kalam is just a terrible argument.
Or maybe you are right. I will revise.
Okay. Well, make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. If you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. I'm excited that I got to use that argument. I'm actually writing a paper. The paper that I'm writing for my grad school writing sample to get into grad school for philosophy is actually about cosmological arguments and about how they're a lot of them are self-defeating in that exact way, the way that I kind of just laid out. So I'm glad that I got to practice a little bit. All right, let's go to the very next guest. Hey, how's it going?
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Doing well. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Yep. And what religion?
I'm personally theistic. I don't really abide by any of the Abrahamic religions, but I do want to run through the cosmological argument, because no offense to the other guy, I don't think he did the greatest job representing it.
Yeah, sure, go for it. Which one do you want to talk about?
We can do the infinite regress.
And so
the God being a sufficient initial cause.
Do you want to lay out the argument that you want to talk about? Because the cosmological argument is an entire family of arguments. Yeah,
but I guess the one I'm talking about is I forgot the name of the particular argument. So bear with me. But the one that I'm specifically in reference to is the infinite regression. How every action needs to have an initial cause, and essentially just causality, and how there needs to be an initial cause to jumpstart everything that we observe.
So you're probably talking about the Kalam. The Kalam goes like this, everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause. I think this argument's self-defeating. Do you think that God's act of creation began to exist, or do you think that it existed without beginning to exist? That is to say, like, it existed eternally.
I think that the act of God's creation, like so God creating everything, like did that begin to
like
exist?
the act that God takes that necessitates that the universe comes into existence, is that eternal or does that begin to exist?
That begins to exist.
Sure, then it needs a cause, because the Kalam says that everything that begins to exist has a cause, and you're saying that God's act of creation has a cause. So what causes God's act of creation?
Well, I guess like you can just plead to ignorance on that, and like that a
Sure.
God of infinite knowledge and
Yeah.
infinite
But
beyond
then it's
an
not
infinite
clear that
being.
it's not clear that you even stop the regress at that point.
You stop the just because you don't understand the particular will of an omnipotent creator, that doesn't mean that you can't you can't use that as a starting point on why there's creation in the first place.
Yeah, so here's the problem, is that we can we don't need to know the specific thing. We can just represent it with like a placeholder, like a variable. We can say like the thing that stops the infinite regress is X. Now either X began to exist or X did not begin to exist. If X did not begin to exist, then it would just be eternally necessitating the entire chain, which then means that the universe doesn't begin to exist because all this stuff just exists eternally. But then the alternative is that it begins to exist, which means that it's actually not the end to the infinite regress. So either way, you end up in self-defeat on the Kulam.
Yeah, I mean, I understand like the perspective of like, I mean, for starters, we know that the universe existed. We can observe the beginning of the universe.
Well, wait, I'm just not going to let you get off of this, right? You need to address that critique.
Yeah, I know. I will address it. So like, I'm just saying. So I'm saying for starters that the universe can't be eternal because we can recognize the beginning of it. Like we can observe the beginning of it.
Where are you like pivoting away? Just engage with the critique.
Yeah,
okay, maybe I could like type it out for you.
No, I'm not trying to be avoidant. I'm not trying to, I'm not being intentionally doing it.
Let X be the entity that stops the infinite causal regress. Okay. Either X began to exist or X did not begin to exist. If X began to exist, then it has a cause, which means it doesn't actually stop the infinite regress. So, but that's like the precondition stipulated up here. So obviously it can't be that one. So the only alternative, if X did not begin to exist and is sufficient for the next link in the causal chain, then the next link in the causal chain did not begin to exist either. And then it would just follow by like mathematical induction that none of these began to exist, that in fact it's just eternal.
Yeah, like I'm following along with the premise. That's not really what I was like. I guess like I guess like my argument will kind of just evolve into like the God of the gaps. Like we can't like.
Well, I'm saying we don't need to. Like we just need to know that like this is the entity that stops the infinite regress. I'm not even asking you at this point, well, what is X? I'm telling you that it doesn't matter what X is, that it's, there's nothing that could fit this role.
So you think that nothing could stop the infinite regress, like whether it be God or
Yes.
whatever.
Yep,
whatever.
Correct.
Like it's a so. How do you personally grapple with that problem? Like
I think that there's an infinite regress.
And that how does that compute logically?
What's the problem with it?
That, I mean, things are finite. Like
what things? Why would I think that time is finite?
Because I guess because we can observe the beginning of time. We can observe the beginning of the universe and how
We definitely can't. So if you're talking about the Big Bang, the majority of cosmologists hold that the Big Bang isn't the start of time.
Really, I'm not as educated on that topic.
Yeah. So here's a survey. This survey was done, I think, like a year or two ago. So according to 68% of cosmologists, the Big Bang is a theory that says that the universe evolved from a hot, dense state that says nothing about whether there was an absolute beginning of time or not.
You know, like be an observable thing, like infinite, like infinite regress was like causality. That's an observable thing. Like, we need to have a cause for everything that we observe and everything that we have. Well, time is just a unit of measurement that can just go back infinitely. But like,
yeah,
the problem with things that are actually like physical, like there needs to be a cause for things. There needs to be something like grounded for why things are the way that they are.
Yeah, the problem with this is that it just kicks it down. It kicks the infinite regress down a layer, and it also still has like the temporal infinite regress, because what you probably want to reduce time to is something like change, and then there just becomes like an infinite regress of change.
Not necessarily, because there still has to be an initial call. Like you can't change like nothing into something.
Wait, why not think that there's always something that's always changing?
Because where did that something come from? It kind of like
that would be a category error. That's asking like what caused this, but it isn't one thing. It's like an infinite regress. There is no starting point to that.
So we argue that things or matter or whatever it may be has always existed, and then it just is in an eternal state of change. Is that what?
Yeah, something like that. Yes.
I haven't heard that perspective before. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to think on that. I appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, mostly, I'm just curious on the type of personalities you get up here every day. It must be a pretty odd mix of individuals. I imagine that a lot of people are pretty dogmatic about like Abrahamic religions, and you don't really get to talk about like more cosmological concepts.
It's like a good mix of people, right? There's a lot of Christians who reach for these arguments to try to defend the faith. So there are like a good number of Christians, even Christians on this app, who have like made an attempt to like read up on some of the better arguments. So I don't know. There are like a lot of people. I'd say that there are just as many people who are like generally like theistic or like spiritual who spout like literal gibberish. It's like roughly like an equal proportion. In fact, there might even be more spiritual people that just say gibberish than there are like Christians.
I feel like from like a debating perspective, though, it'd be easier to just attack like the inconsistencies like within the Bible, or like within the historical argument of Jesus, or you know, the inconsistencies within the Bible.
I agree with that. Yeah,
like rather than going like a whole like just a general theistic approach, because you can argue from a theistic perspective, and it could have nothing to do with any Abrahamic religion. Like that's what I was arguing about. Like God existing does not necessitate your God existing.
Sure. I mean, I think I basically agree that it puts you at like a bit of a disadvantage. But nevertheless, I do think that it's, I don't know. You know, most people get into this because they are raised in a religion. But is there anything else you want to talk about? Otherwise, I might move on to the next guest.
Yeah, I'll let you go. I appreciate the conversation. I'll look into you know what we talked about a bit more. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Thanks so much for coming on up. Appreciate you. Make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. Ben Young, thanks so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Phantom, thanks so much for the super chat. I accidentally sent you a picture of my faith. Please delete it unless based. That's funny. I like that. Larry, thanks so much for the super chat. Some of us in your audience are closer to 100 years old than you are to 50, and we learn from you. Awesome. Larry, that's so sweet of you. Thanks so much for the $50 super chat. That's really great. I super appreciate you. I'm just glad that I can teach people new things. I'm glad that people are interested in it. I think philosophy is really cool. I think it really unfolds, like it's really opened up the way that I think about the world. It allows me to make distinctions that I was never able to make before, and explain things that I was never able to explain before. I don't know. It's really changed my entire thought process. Kane, thanks so much for the super chat. should people be jailed for viewing porn? Are you asking about like, is it like the same thing as like the AI like child porn situation? Because if that's what you're talking about, like you probably should be jailed if that's what you view. But I don't necessarily think that you should be jailed for viewing like regular porn, although I don't know, my views on this are underdeveloped. All right, let's go to the very next guest. 1 sec, let me consult with the list. All right, let's get him on up in here. Hey, how's it going?
Yo, how's everything, bro?
Doing well, yeah. How old are you?
I'm 22.
Yep, and what religion?
I'm a Christian.
Yeah, what makes you think that God exists?
I have like a lot of reasoning as to why I think God exists, as far as like personal experience and also just like maybe like metaphysical proof. But I just want to start like out the gate. Like I'm a bit slow, like compared to like your other guests. Like I'm not as smart as you or your other guests. So like take me easy, bro. But I would love to know why you think God exists, and I'll just like follow your lead, honestly.
Yeah, sure. Here's something I was thinking about just today. Here's a reason to think that God couldn't be the creator of time. So if God were to create time, there would be a change in the state of reality. But then in order for there to be any change in the state of reality, in order for that to even be a possibility that's on the table, time needs to exist. So it seems like there couldn't possibly be a creator of time insofar as it would effectively be creating its own conditions for the possibility of its existence. You know, that's like as absurd as like a thing causing itself into existence. So
okay, so I think to understand this, that's kind of like an argument that you're touching on like previous things. You said, just to like mirror your argument, you were saying that in order for God to create time, there must be a change in reality.
Yeah.
So in order for there to be said change, time must have already existed.
Yeah.
So I think a few like assumptions that we have just with that is, first of all, the notion of reality. When we talk about like reality, we are talking about the reality of, I would just assume, time and space, because you're saying that time must exist.
Just like metaphysical reality.
Yeah, but I think a reality that exists beyond space and time, we can already see does exist. And we see that through, I think, okay, I won't get on that just yet. But
I agree with that, to be clear.
Yeah.
I just think that you can't bring time into existence. That's the problem.
Bring time into existence. And I think this is, you had another thing that you were saying where, did God began, like had creation like begun? I think like I take a different approach when it comes to creation, as like creation is an eternal state of being for all of creation, if that kind of makes sense. Like creation is
doesn't really
being created.
It's not super clear what it even means to create at that point, because God never actually brings anything into existence. It just eternally exists. Like,
well, I think like,
it's not clear what role God is actually playing there.
And I think that is why we have to define like God. And I think like, for me, I'm a Christian. I wouldn't like call myself like the like standard Christian. Like I studied philosophy and a lot of other like religions, monotheistic and other type of religions. And for me, I've like really deepened my understanding of God. And I find that that understanding of God is present within the Bible, where it's not God like a sky daddy in the like the sky or whatever like people be saying, but it's more like God is, he kind of like expands beyond the beyond like just a noun. He's like a verb, and he's like a constant presence. I know it's kind of like hard to understand, but I think like
I have no idea what that even means.
Yeah, so I'll try to break it down, but I think in order to understand, like your claim is God isn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're saying, okay, and you also asked what religion are you? You were saying earlier, like, please be from like a monotheistic religion, because that's like the type of God that you're trying to So I think in order to like really break this down, we have to understand like the God that is being claimed. And I think like people do oftentimes a poor job at like trying to put that God into perspective.
Wait, can I just get like a simple definition of God? Like I take God to be something like a personal ultimate foundation, you know, a thing that all other things are dependent on for their existence.
I'm sorry, can you start over and say that again? Is this your
a
definition of
personal ultimate foundation, like something that all other entities depend on for their existence, that itself has like something like a mind or goals, you know, acts intentionally.
So you're saying that the God that you believe in is more
No, the God that I'm claiming doesn't exist.
Can you, okay, so with that in mind, can you say your definition again? Sorry.
Yeah, a personal ultimate foundation.
That all other entities, like, what were you saying?
Yeah, ultimate means that all other entities depend on this thing for their existence. That if you were to trace back all the chains of being, all of like the causal chains, all of the grounding chains, you would eventually arrive at this being, tracing all of them back.
Okay. So I think like in order, I hear what you're saying. And why don't you think that exists?
Yeah, the reason why I don't think that that exists is because either he was always creating or he began to create. And if he's always creating, then creation just always exists. So he never actually creates it, since he never brings it into existence. But then the reverse of that is that God goes from not creating and then he begins to create. But then God's within time, so he can't be the creator of time because he changes.
Okay, so just first off, I want to just say like, yeah, so you brought up like 2 points. Just throwing this out here, maybe there's like a third point that we haven't like thought of yet.
It's a true dichotomy. Either he was eternally creating or not eternally creating. It has to be one or the other.
Eternally creating or not. Or actually, sometimes I found in philosophy, it's both at the same time. And it creates like our foundation of reality. So either he's eternally creating or he just began creation, you said?
That's a contradiction, what you're telling me. It can't be both, because if it's both, then that's a contradiction. Like, trivially, it would be false.
Okay, I haven't really thought of like the claim yet, but go ahead and tell me why it's a contradiction.
Yeah, if you're saying that God is both eternally creating and not eternally creating, you're saying that there's like a thing that is the case and isn't the case, which is just a contradiction.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Well, it's kind of like a thing where it's like, because of our like, I hate when like religious people say this, but because of our like limited perspective, it seems as though it is a contradiction. But there's a lot of things that seem contradictory because of our limited perspective, like as it is already. I actually
like what?
Also, a fault that I have, I think out loud a lot, by the way. So
that's
like,
okay.
Yeah. So
but like, wait, what's an example of like a thing that seems contradictory? I don't think there are any things of that sort.
So I think like one of the things, and maybe from like lesser knowledge people, but it's like instantaneously I am like in motion because the earth is spinning, but I'm not in motion because it's seemingly I'm not in motion because of my perspective. So because of my limited perspective, it gives this like dichotomy that I call existence. And I think like the most interesting and like valid truths in existence are these things that are like fleshed out with two different types of truths that look contradictory.
So the problem with that is that you'd be conflating reference frames. So from our reference frame, you'd say that you're not in motion from like a single inertial reference frame. But then if you like switch to a different inertial reference frame, then things that were at rest could now be in motion. So I'm saying like a contradiction along like the exact same axis without like basically like equivocating in the senses.
I hear that. What about like entanglement, where it's like
not a contradiction.
A quantum particle, yeah, it's not a contradiction, right? But a quantum particle is at the same time like a sender and receiver, both within itself.
Wait, what do you mean a sender and receiver? I don't know what that means.
I kind of like studied a little bit of information theory, and when we look into it, like in the quantum reality, like quantum particles can exist as like both a receiver and a sender, but like simultaneously, not being like
I don't even know what that means, to say that it's both like a receiver of what, a sender of what?
Of information.
Okay, how?
How? Shoot, bro, you gotta ask like the quantum professors. How? It's just like they.
Are you talking about like quantum computing, or are you just talking about like?
I'm talking about quantum computing, but just quantum like. Let me ground the argument though. Back to what we were saying, because I feel like we're like.
Are you just talking about entanglement? Because entanglement's not a contradiction. To say that something is in like a superposition of spin up and a superposition of spin down, that's not a contradiction.
Why isn't it a contradiction?
Because these states are mutually compatible. You can be both. Being in a superposition of spin up does not imply that you're not in a superposition of spin down.
We've reached common ground. Like, I totally agree with you. You're in both at the same time. And I think there's just like some things that are just like in both at the same time. But just bringing it back to this point.
Wait, sir, to be clear, that's not like a contradiction in the way that you're saying God is contradicting himself. It's like a totally separate thing.
Wait,
so,
I'm sorry,
so because being in superposition, like if you're in a superposition of spin up, it's not true that you're not in a superposition of spin down.
Sorry, there's double negative. So it's true that
you can be both in a superposition of spin up and spin down, and there's no contradiction in that because these things aren't mutually exclusive. Whereas, you know, saying like God is what would be a contradiction is saying that this thing has a superposition of spin up and that the thing doesn't have a superposition of spin up. That would be a contradiction.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But unfortunately, that isn't what it's not capturing what we were talking about initially, where God is always creating and he began creation.
No. You said he's always creating and not always creating. That's a contradiction.
No, I don't think he's not always creating. I think he's always creating.
Oh, then creation just always exists, which means that he doesn't actually bring it into existence, so he doesn't actually create.
Here's the problem with that claim. The problem with that claim is it's also taking time. It's also taking place in time. Because you're saying it's always created. Always is a word of time.
Did God always exist?
God always existed.
Yeah,
yes.
sure. So does that make God temporal?
It doesn't limit his existence to the temporal reality.
Okay. Sure. Then it seems like always isn't strictly a time word.
I'm sorry, say that sentence again.
It seems like always isn't strictly a time word. If you want to say that God always existed, but not in like a temporal sense.
Always is strictly a time word.
Okay.
I mean, it's not
when you say God always exists,
argument,
are you saying that God's always in time?
God is okay. So let me break this down for like my sake. God is always in time, correct? But when we talk about always, that is beginning, middle, end. When we talk about God,
no, there's no beginning there or end.
Oh, because I think we're so let's define always. Because I think we have two different definitions.
I take always to be something like occurring without beginning or end.
Eternal.
Yeah.
And I think I was taking it as infinite.
I mean, there's going to be like an infinity in something always existing. Like there is no coming into existence for that thing.
There is no coming to existence for that thing. Yeah. So here's my thing. Let's say we have a timer, and let's say theoretically you have like Usain Bolt, or we have like a runner, and this runner theoretically he can run for the beginning of the time I start the timer until the end of the time that I start the timer. In that sequence of time, the runner is always running. The runner exists within that sequence of time always.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree, right? If you add like the constraints there, then you can use the word that way. When I'm asking about like always, I'm asking about just in like the sum total state of reality. I'm not asking about like a specific time frame. I'm asking about like all of it.
Then we go back to your first claim, which is God created time. That means there was a change in reality. Mm-hmm. That means time must exist. So you're saying that always stands for reality. What I'm saying is
that's just how I'm using the word, right? Like I can if the word bothers you, I can like edit the word out into like the definition that I have.
It doesn't bother me. I'm just laying down your grounds.
Are you gonna
so I can,
like equivocate? Because it sounds like what you're trying to do is like equivocate.
Sure, we can do whatever. Like I'm just following your lead.
Sure. Okay. Let me put it like this. Do you think that God's act of creation exists without beginning to exist from a state of non-existence, or do you think that the opposite of that is true?
Let me write this down.
Yeah.
Go ahead again.
Do you think that God's act of creation exists without beginning to exist after a state of non-existence? Or do you think that God's act of creation exists without beginning to exist?
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, wait, the alternative there would be, do you think that God's act of creation begins to exist from a state of non-existence?
Oh man, that's great stuff. The second one would be kind of like Big Bang Theory almost, where it's like creation comes from non-creation, which it just go ahead. Is that not the Big Bang Theory acronym?
Well, it's not the Big Bang Theory. It's also not really what's going on there, right? It would just be God is inactive and then God activates and creates.
Oh, perfect stuff. So get this, right?
Yeah.
So information theory, you have information in two forms. You have like the unexpressed information, which is still the information, but then you have the expressed information where it comes into reality. So like if we look at like the atomical structure, let me like break this down a bit. If we look at the like atomical structure, you have like the nucleus, which is like the proton and neutron, right? And like this thing is like so small. It's like super small. And then you have like the expressed information around it, which is the electrons. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is even though, damn, where was I at, bro? I lost my my traits. I was just saying like, I think like the information can still exist even if it's unexpressed. So I think like this is why I resonate with Christianity, because it has like the Holy Trinity.
What's the information in this context?
In what sense?
I have no idea how this is analogous.
Right. So when you're saying like, does creation exist from non-existence? What I'm saying is
That's
no.
not really what I'm asking. The question is more like, does God begin to create after not creating? Like, does God go from not creating and then he begins to create? That's more so what that option is outlining.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the expression of himself, which he is all information. And all of time is the unraveling of said information.
Okay, so then God changes.
Yeah, God is in both at the same time. And I know it's like kind of hard.
He's in both of what?
He's in both unchanging and changing.
That's a contradiction.
No, it's not. It's not a contradiction.
It's like a textbook contradiction, right? Like
I think then we point back to what we were saying about like.
Wait, sorry. Okay, we got to be so honest with each other, right? Like if you can't acknowledge that God changing and not changing is a contradiction, I don't even think that there's like a point in continuing, right? Like this is so trivial.
I hear you. I think like a lot of the best truths have like these contradictions, which within it breathes life. I think like I point to like one of the quotes is like, it's the same river, but a different river or whatever the quote goes. It's like, there's like laws that the universe relies on, but through the laws, there's change. So at the same time, there is like.
Are you just rejecting the laws of logic? Do you just reject logic?
No, I don't reject logic. I kind of like.
Which laws of logic do you accept, just to make sure that we're on the same page?
Well, try to look, again, I'm like freaking retarded, bro. So like try to like.
You can't say that.
Sorry, no.
All right, make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. Your crazy ex-girlfriend, thanks so much for the cool core membership. Appreciate you. Bacon and Bush, thanks so much for the cool Corey membership. I appreciate that. Bourbon Neat, thanks so much for the, oh yeah, fuck. Wow, thanks TikTok. Thanks for being so diligent. Bourbon Neat, thanks so much for the super chat. We need more content of Ian teaming up with Matt Dillahunty, two of my favorite atheist debaters. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. That's pretty massive. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, I love debating with Matt. I think it's really interesting. I may oh wait. Shit, sorry, I'll go back to that in a sec. I always like debating with Matt. I think it's fun. I think that I think Matt and I make a good pairing, because I think that we balance each other out really well. I think that I'm like very calm maxed for the most part, and then Matt is good at like wrangling things back in. I don't know. It's a good pairing. Sorry. Okay. Wait, Bacon and Bush, thanks so much for the 10 gifted memberships. I know I already read this. I was mistaken. I think I said, did I say 1 membership? That's my bad. 10 memberships is pretty huge. Thank you. Big W, Bacon and Bush. Let's get a massive W. All right. Let's go to the very next guest. Oh, fuck. Not this person. We talked to them recently. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Big Chris, are you there? Big Chris? Big Chris? Oh no. That's so sad. Oh.
Hello.
Oh, what? It's at the very last moment. Okay, come back up, Big Chris. Jeez. Oh my. Bro, what are the chances? What timing? That's unbelievable. It was like a jump scare even. Big Chris, come back up. We miss you, Big Chris. Come home. Come home, Big Chris. Hey, how's it going?
How's it going?
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 40.
Yep. What religion?
I don't have a religion.
Do you have like a relationship with Christ?
I'm spiritual.
Okay. Do you think God exists?
I do.
Yeah. What makes you think that God exists?
Because way before we existed today, they talked about God. Way before they existed, they talked about God.
So what?
But my thing is this. I don't think that us today really have a real grounding understanding of God, because the information about God has been played with, remixed, burned, lost, stolen. So my point is, how could you even make an argument whether he does or doesn't?
Yeah.
You fully can't know.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly is like your presupposition, but additionally, that seems to render your view totally incoherent. You're telling me you believe in a thing and you don't even know what that thing is. Like, you don't even have a concept of the thing that you believe in.
Right, and you don't believe in something that you don't even know that is believable.
Like what? What is this thing? I mean, you clearly can't
Right,
believe, you
exactly.
clearly don't believe in it, so I'm not sure why I would think that you have any access to this God being when you're literally saying that you don't even know what the concept is.
Well, I guess you got to have a spirit first.
Okay. Wow,
to
it's
even
like
have a connection to God, right?
I bet that's
Because
a sick
God is a
burn. I bet
spirit,
this
he
shit
is
is
a
tough in the
frequency.
crystal shop.
But he is a frequency, he is a spirit, right? But you say that time already existed. There is
Wait,
no
sorry,
God.
we're going all over the place.
So
I just want to get
how?
clear.
I want to ask
Wait,
you one
oh
question.
gosh, he just wants to
How did you
gibberate. That's
appear
too
on
bad.
planet Earth? Just
That's
answer
so
me
sad.
that. How did you
Yeah,
feel like you appeared on planet Earth?
yeah,
Now
I
you
came
mad
from
'cause
my
you can't outthink me.
parents.
Now you mad because you can't
You're
outthink me. How did
delayed
you
or
appear on
something,
planet Earth?
both mentally
How
and
did you?
internet-wise,
Can you
it
just answer me that
seems.
one question?
Yeah, I just
How did we
answered it. Do you want it
appear?
a second time? I'll give it to you a
How did
second
we appear
time.
in the universe? How did we
Yeah,
appear
we
in the
came from
solar system?
evolution.
How did we appear on planet Earth
Yeah, we
if
came
there's
from
no
evolution.
God?
Good
How did we get
question.
here? What's your explanation?
Yeah, I just gave it twice. Do you want it a third time?
No, give me your explanation. How did we get here?
Okay, I'll give it to you a third time. Yeah, it's
Okay, give it to
evolution.
me. Boy, you are dumb.
Okay.
Goodbye. I don't even have to discuss
Scathing
with you.
rebuttal.
Bye.
Wow, I accept
Bye.
your surrender. You got the fuck beaten out of you instantly. With one word, we shut this guy's entire brain down. We reset him to factory settings so badly that he couldn't even find the X in the right-hand corner. He manually swiped out of the app, and now he's gone. He's like fleeing. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Good.
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 40.
Yep. What religion?
Christian.
What makes you think that God exists?
I mean, lots of reasons, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what about
you know,
Jesus?
everything he did,
Like what?
everything he still does, like the whole world is basically revolving around him.
In what way? Do you mean like metaphorically? Like if what you're claiming is that Jesus has been like culturally impactful, I mean, I agree. Jesus has had like pretty
Yeah.
massive cultural impacts in the same way that Muhammad has had pretty massive cultural impacts in places where Islam is big. And you know, like the Buddha has had huge cultural impacts in places where Buddhism is big. So
Yeah,
I don't think that the
even like
cultural impacts are a good indicator of what's true.
well, even Muhammad kind of branched off of Christianity because they use all the same characters in the Bible and describe them again. So
Yeah, I
it was
agree.
like after Jesus, he kind of established like who he was, and since then, the only other major religion, which is Islam, still had to acknowledge Jesus.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like it does branch off from it. Yeah, I agree with that. But the fact that
Yeah,
it's
so
culturally impactful doesn't mean that it's true unless you're willing to affirm the truth of Islam.
well, my view on Islam is that it's based off of the truth, and it was divergent.
Is
You know, so
Islam true?
it has true things about it, but it's not the full truth because
Well,
Jesus
I
is
think
the full truth.
I think Christianity has true things about it. Like, for example, I think Jesus existed. I don't think that it's the full truth. And I think
Yeah,
it says
so
like a
what
ton of false things.
I guess what is the most true thing about Christianity is it's the religion about Jesus' death and resurrection. And
What's
so
the
where
evidence that he
Islam
resurrected?
right, hold on. So where Islam diverged from that is Islam actually denies that Jesus was even crucified or
I know.
resurrected.
I'm aware.
So that's the reason why
Yeah.
Islam isn't true, but Christianity is.
Ooh, sorry.
Right,
So
but
what's the evidence that
Islam is still
Jesus resurrected?
well, that's just like you can see it's the Bible, that's the story.
Sure. What's the
So
evidence that the Bible's true?
because of the cultural impact that it's
Okay.
had, it's
Let's say
defined the
Christianity was
whole-
false. Could it still have cultural
Right.
impacts even if it was false?
No.
Oh, wait, what about Buddhism? Can Buddhism have cultural impacts if it's not true? Do you think Buddhism is true?
There's true parts to Buddhism, but that came
Like
before
what?
Jesus. Well, like whatever Buddha said. Like Buddha had certain experiences, but there's even Buddha said you don't go.
Nice,
He's not the
yeah.
savior.
Dude, that's
He's-
fire. Wait, so do you think we're gonna get like resurrected because Buddhism had such a big cultural impact?
If you believe in Jesus, you get resurrected.
I'm asking about like into a cycle of suffering, right? Am I gonna get resurrected as like an ant?
No.
Oh, sure.
All
So
you-
then Buddhism is false, despite the fact that it's had like a cultural impact.
Buddhism isn't as true as Jesus. Jesus is the truth.
Okay, so this just seems to be circular. Right, you're saying like Jesus is the truth because of the cultural impacts, and the other things that have cultural impacts, well, those are false because Jesus is the truth because of the cultural impacts.
I didn't say they're false. I never said that. I
Yeah,
said
you said that
as
they're
true.
not as true. I'm
True,
looking for
exactly.
the evidence. Is there any evidence that Jesus rose
so
from the
you're
dead?
already misrepresenting my words in order to make your own
Well,
argument.
wait, sorry. If
So you have
something's,
to li- to
you
listen
might think
more.
that like truth is like a spectrum. I think that something's either true or it's false.
Okay, well, so Islam has things in it that are true. Like if you read the Quran, there's
Yeah.
things it actually
Are
says
you
about
just going
Jesus.
back into the circular argument? Do you want to like actually
No,
engage
no,
with the
'cause
critique?
your statement was things are either true or false.
Do you
But
deny the
there's-
law of excluded middle? You deny laws of logic?
No, you're not listening to me.
Do you accept it or do you deny it?
I'm not talking about
A thing is either true or it's not true.
an entire corpus of information has both true things and false. If you read a history
If you
book,
take it as like a conjunction,
Well,
then it would
I was
be
just in the
false
middle
if
of
it
a
has
sentence.
one
If
false thing.
right, so you're not listening. I mean,
Okay,
gotta
you're not
finish the
giving
sentence.
evidence. We got to get to the place
If
where
you
you're
read
giving
it-
evidence.
If you read a history book, and it could
Hmm.
have multiple true statements in it, it can still have something in it that's false.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do you
so
take the religion to be like the
so-
conjunction of facts?
Right. So you can't follow along with the point. Is it possible
That
for
was
a
a yes or
history
no
book?
question. I don't know if you're aware
I
of
know,
that.
I know, but I was actually responding to your
Okay,
previous
yeah,
statement,
sure.
which was
This
things either
guy's like
true or false.
this guy's like physically incapable of answering yes no questions, it seems.
No, it's just not. You're not even following along with your own train of thought.
Oh, I think I am.
You think you are, but you'd
What
have to
question
actually
did I just
listen.
ask you? Or were you not listening? Are you just yapping?
The question you asked was about, are things either true or false?
No, it was,
And
do you think a
deny
religion
the
is just
law
the
of excluded
conjunct of its
middle.
truth claims?
Right. So that's what I'm still
It's a
trying
yes or
to
no
answer you,
question.
but you can't even listen for more than one sentence before
Okay.
you jump in.
I just want the yes or the no. It's pretty simple.
Things can be true and things can be false.
Do you think that answers the question?
It does.
Okay, what was the question?
Can something have truth or false, or do you deny the law of excluded middle?
That wasn't the question.
That was your question before that I was still answering.
I don't want you to answer the question from like 5 questions ago. I want you to answer this one.
Right. So you don't want the answer to your question.
I want the answer to the question that I just asked. That's typically how conversations work.
I'm still on the first question that you asked.
Okay, I grant that you're like stuck in the past, that you haven't, that I'm like running circles around you. Like, you know, maybe you're
not
like
even
traveling at like light speed, which is why, you know, you're still stuck in the past. But, you know, I've asked you this
like
question.
A few minutes ago. So
like, I don't know why you're stuck like a few minutes ago. I just want an answer to my question now.
What's your question? What's your question?
Yeah.
Now?
Do you think a religion is just the conjunct of its truth claims?
A religion is the conjunct of its truth claims?
Yeah.
No.
Like if, oh, okay, sure. So then you think that there are false things in the Bible?
It's possible.
Like what?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like something could have been written down in it.
Why would I believe any of it?
Well, Jesus Christ is the Messiah.
Prove it.
Based off all the things that he did, resurrecting, the miracles.
Prove that he resurrected. Prove that he did miracles.
That's based off of his impact in history, where we are
now. Do you think
Zeus existed? 2000. Well, somebody existed that called themselves Zeus.
No, they didn't. So, what are you talking about?
Okay. Well, you just asked what I think. So you can't even.
You think Zeus existed? You're like an idiot. Yeah. This guy thinks Zeus existed.
You're an idiot because you can't even follow your own question.
Existed. Buddy, that's
this
like,
is your question.
This guy fucking stumbled into like turbo heresy.
Yeah.
So we got a Zeus believer over here.
You can't even follow along with your own question.
Is this the best that you have?
Zeus was in the Bible.
When?
In the book of Acts.
Oh yeah? Where is Zeus? Zeus the person appears in the book of Acts?
Zeus the reference. Zeus is referenced in the book of Acts.
Yeah, presumably it's like a fictional character.
Okay, well, however you want to put it, like the Bible does have a lot of things that are true, and your problem is that you don't listen to the answers to your own questions.
I do. You don't even listen to the questions.
I did listen to your question. Remember, I was trying to answer your question.
I had to tell you the question like 4 times, then you gave like the obviously false question or the obviously false answer.
You had 5 questions before, so you can't even. You have to ask 5 questions before.
I don't think I asked. I said 5 minutes.
You said 5 questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good, champ. Do you have like some real evidence, or maybe what you could do? You could give the argument that Jesus couldn't have possibly had a cultural impact unless it was true. What's the argument for that?
Because he wouldn't have.
Oh, that's circular.
Do you have an argument of why God isn't real?
Wait, that's circular. Before you pivot away from your dog shit argument, I can't blame you, right? It was a really bad argument. Can you just acknowledge that what you just gave was a circular argument?
You mean how do you want to answer your question? You're saying would Jesus have had a
what's the evidence that Jesus would have a cultural impact only if it was true? Like, why would I believe that?
Because if he was a false Messiah, then he wouldn't have had the impact. There was other messiahs who were deemed false. Again. It even says that in the book of Acts. When someone stands up, I forget the guy's name, he said, if he's not true, then his movement will fall away. But if he is the truth, then God will make sure that this is the movement that basically takes over the whole world.
But there are naturalistic explanations for this. So for example,
what's your naturalistic explanation?
Yeah, the naturalistic explanation is pretty easy. It's just that insofar as Jesus comes preaching messages of like the end of times, you know, torture forever, these are messages that play very strongly on the human psychology. If somebody says they're going to fucking torture you forever, that, you know, everything you're living for is about to fade, these are very compelling messages. People are very prone to catastrophizing. So there's a natural explanation for that. That's why, you know, these apocalyptic stories appear in many religions, basically all of them.
Okay, well, I guess that the explanation makes sense to you, but that's just not
Does
the
it not
case.
make sense to you?
No. Because lots of people can
You
preach
don't think
whatever
that
they
we're prone
want.
to catastrophizing? Like, for
Not
example, like
necessarily.
this is what drives conspiracy beliefs. The idea that there's like this great force of evil, you know, weighing down in on your everyday life and versus like some great force of good.
I think you have a misunderstanding of how other people believe because you don't like to listen.
Okay. I think that I've tracked all of your questions and you know, pick a
That's
question
what
and
you
then you
think.
stop listening to the rest of them.
No, I mean you explained how you think Jesus could have made such a movement,
Yeah,
but
there's like a naturalistic explanation. Yeah.
okay. But it even says in the book of Acts where Zeus was mentioned. If you look that up,
Oh no, you're like short circuiting.
no, but it says in the book of Acts that if Jesus is not the
Yeah, I
Messiah,
heard you the first
then his
time.
movement will decline, like happened to other false messiahs.
You're saying that the Bible is true, and the evidence for that is the Bible itself. That's circular.
Okay, how else would I mean that
You need
if
some
that's
external
true?
evidence.
If that's true, the Bible will obviously prove itself.
You need some external evidence that demonstrates it.
The whole world has been defined by the Bible
Why would that mean that it's true?
because that means that the Bible has the power of God.
Why?
Because God decided that that's his record, that's his word, that he wanted
What's the
to
evidence
be
of that?
the message, that it is. That's literally what's
Oh, it is
happening.
because it is, right? Okay, so God doesn't exist because he doesn't exist. How's that for an argument against God?
That's probably the best argument you have.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
here's the
it
actual
doesn't
best
work.
argument that I have. Do you think that God was always creating, or do you think that he began to create at some point?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, let's explore both routes and determine how they both fall apart. If God's always
Okay.
creating, then creation always exists, which means that he never actually creates. So in this circumstance, he wouldn't be the creator. If
So who
God,
is the creator?
nobody, creation would just eternally exist.
You think creation has always existed?
You don't understand the concept of a dilemma? Oh
Well,
shit!
do you think that's
I
even true?
clearly this is like way.
I mean, no. Is it
I'm
even
busting out like the
possible?
top shelf for like a bunch of like fucking
No,
like
I'm just
drunk
saying.
19-year-olds, right?
Is this something you even think is realistic? That creation has always existed?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think it's a
Is that
creation,
scientific?
but yeah,
Or whatever. Existence is eternal.
yeah. Like
Or
the
you're
universe
like
has always existed.
there was something. What was before the Big Bang?
There would just be more universe. The universe
Okay.
rapidly
And
collapsing.
what's that scientific theory called?
Yeah, the quantum eternity theorem states that if there's a non-zero amount of total energy in the universe, then the universe must have always existed. The model that's getting invoked is the Big Bounce, Big Crunch model.
Okay, so you believe there was basically a whole universe before it. So that would mean that this universe will at some point crunch. Is that
Yep,
your
we got good
conviction?
evidence for that too, yeah.
Even though it's currently expanding?
Yes, but the acceleration of expansion is slowing down over time at such a rate that if it continues at that rate, it will eventually collapse, yeah.
Okay, well, that's your theory. That I guess you'll find
Well,
out
that's
if
just
the
what the
universe,
data
if this,
says.
if this unit, yeah, the
I
data
know your
says this
belief
universe
doesn't
is
play well
gonna
with data,
crunch.
but
Yeah, okay. So you're in this eternal expansion universe
Hmm?
that's been around. And so there was ever a first universe, or
No.
what number universe are we on?
we're not on like a number universe that would assume that there's like a first one.
Okay, but there was a universe before this.
Yes.
Okay, that was earlier than here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's your theory. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Okay,
make
let's
any
do
sense.
like an even easier argument. Do you think that God made the best possible timeline?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Is there a possible timeline where, for example, Adam and Eve don't sin?
It's possible.
Yeah. So then, which timeline's better? The timeline where Adam and Eve sin, or the timeline where Adam and Eve don't sin?
Obviously, the one where they sin.
That's better. It's better for Adam and Eve to sin.
But yeah, that's why we're in this one.
Holy shit! Wow, that's really surprising. So sin is good, or like that sin was good.
That was the very first story of the Bible.
Okay. Sure. So then if you're saying that that's like the good thing, then why would things like cancer or earthquakes exist? Like, why would God punish us for this good thing?
Well, we're in a fallen world, so there's still Satan in the world, and God is in a war with Satan.
What's the better world? The timeline where Satan exists or the timeline where Satan doesn't exist?
The one that Satan exists in.
Sure. So then the world is a better place with Satan in it.
For now, yeah, but he's going to be destroyed.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have been better to just not make him in the first place?
No.
Holy shit, dude. Yeah, that's like crazy that you think that the world's a better place with Satan. What's the better timeline? The timeline where cancer is cured or the timeline where it isn't?
I mean, cancer isn't cured yet.
Yeah, so which timeline's better? The timeline where cancer never existed in the first place or the timeline where...
There's no timeline without cancer, so we wouldn't exist.
Does God have the power to make a timeline without cancer?
I don't think he has.
Does he have the power to?
I don't know. Maybe later.
It's not possible to get rid of cancer? You think that's an impossibility?
Yeah. In the next world, there won't be any death, so there presumably wouldn't be cancer.
Does God have the power to cure cancer?
Yeah.
Okay, so does God have the power to cure all of it?
He could if he thought it was the right thing to do.
Sure, so there's a possible timeline where God cures all cancer.
There's a possible timeline.
Yeah, sure. So which timeline's better? The timeline where there's no cancer because God cured it all, or this timeline?
This timeline, because it exists, and
You
the other
prefer
timeline
cancer
doesn't exist.
existing? You think it's better for cancer to exist?
No, I think God created the best timeline, and so if cancer exists, then it's because that's
Would it be
the
a
best, it's in the
better
best
timeline if you took this exact timeline but just no cancer? Like if there was a button in front of you, pushing that button makes cancer disappear. Do you think that would be the good thing to do?
Yeah, it would be the good thing to do.
Let's say I took you back in like a time machine to like 20 years ago, and you could push that button, make all cancer disappear. Would that be better than the timeline we're currently in?
Probably.
That can't be, because you think we live in the best one. We both live in the best timeline, but there's a timeline better.
This is one in which you have a time machine that we can go back to 20 years.
Yeah, God like teleports you back 20 years. Which timeline's better?
If you could take me back 20 years to do that, then that would be a better timeline.
Yeah.
But you can't do that, so it's not a real timeline.
Ooh, sorry, but you think that God can. So,
yeah, but he hasn't.
So you both think that this is the best timeline, but also there's a better timeline?
There's a better timeline that I can imagine, but it doesn't exist.
Do you have faith that it's not actually the better timeline, the timeline where cancer is cured?
Do I have faith? Yeah, I believe that we're in the best timeline.
Yeah, sure. So you prefer the cancer world to the non-cancer world?
It's a real world. There is no world that exists that doesn't have cancer.
There's like a possible world.
Yeah, there's a possible world, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that fact, but you can evaluate which of two worlds are better. I don't know if you're aware of that, right? Like, I can imagine a world without the Holocaust, and that would be like a better world.
Yeah, I can imagine it, but it doesn't exist.
No, I'm aware that it doesn't exist. That's why I said you can imagine it.
It would be
Do you
better,
think my
but
claim is
God-
that it exists?
No, but you're asking why.
I'm not asking why. I'm asking which one's better. You can't track.
Oh yeah, the one. Well, you're kind of going over, but the one without the bad things happening is a better world.
Sure. Then we don't live in the best world.
Yeah, we do, because the other world doesn't exist.
You think there's a world that's better? There's a possible world that's better than the world that we live in?
There's a possible world, but it doesn't exist.
So then God didn't create the best possible timeline?
Yeah, he did, because he created one that actually exists.
Sheer cognitive dissonance, dude.
Those worlds that you're imagining don't exist. Like,
Okay.
would it be a better world if we could fly?
Let me break this down for you.
Okay.
Okay. God created the best possible timeline. There is a possible timeline that is better than the current timeline. You affirm both of these?
Yeah.
You don't see how these are just direct contradictions?
No, because the second timeline, it was not created.
I know, right? By this logic, God could have created any timeline. God could create like the infinite rape forever timeline, and you could give the same argument to that. You could say, well, this is the best possible timeline. The infinite rape forever timeline is the best possible timeline because it's the one that God created.
Yeah, but that's not what he created. He created this timeline.
But that's like absurd. That if that's what the world looked like, you could still say that it's the best possible world.
I mean, it's like saying, can you imagine something better than your current life? Of course you can.
Yeah.
But does that make it real?
What that means, frankly, is that there's a better possible timeline than the current one, right? If I can imagine a life for myself that's better than the one that I currently have, then there's a better possible life for me.
But if you don't create it, it's not real. It's just
I know, but there's still a better possible one.
In your imagination.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you can imagine a better world than what you're in, but it's not the real world.
No, I'm aware of that fact, but it's like a possible world.
God actually created it. So it's like saying, like, whatever car you drive, I mean, let's say it's a, I don't know, Honda Civic, or let's say it's a really good, let's say you drive a Ferrari. Can I imagine a better car than a Ferrari?
Probably.
Yeah, it goes 500 miles an hour.
Do you think that I'm saying that? Do you think that I think that this world exists? Do you think that's my claim?
No, but saying there's a difference.
Then why do you keep responding as if that's my claim?
That's what you're saying. There's a possible.
Is it like genuinely
timeline.
possible insofar as it wouldn't entail like a contradiction?
Well, the contradiction is that it doesn't actually exist, so there's no one to create it.
That's not a contradiction.
Okay.
Well, God could have created it. It's possible that God creates it. Listen, man, if you just like critically can't track, then I think I'm just gonna have to say thanks for coming on. Wow, that argument's pretty good actually. I gotta run that one more. I stole that one from Forrest. I used to run one like that like a really long time ago. But I like it. That one's pretty good. Kane, thanks so much for the super chat. Would you jail someone playing violent video games? No. Not unless there's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. Shim Shangles, thanks so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Or sorry, the 5 gifted memberships even. 5 gifted memberships is a lot of memberships. Let's get a big W for Shim Shangles. David Engelart, thanks so much for the super chat. I don't understand why people have such a hard time accepting a cyclical universe. So much in nature follows cycles, Water cycle, Krebs cycle, rock cycle, carbon cycle, unicycle. Why should the universe behave differently? That's true. I mean, it's just dynamical systems, you know. You have dynamical systems that arrive at equilibriums. Satan Lover, thanks so much for the super chat. God made cancer to sell more Bibles. That's true. That's a banger. Tell the doctors that. Let the doctors know. Ring, 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 ring. This is where cancer came from. Fuck, I hope it doesn't flag me for like medical misinformation, dude. That would suck. That would suck so bad. Okay, if you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. And that will go to the very next guest.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going? How old are you?
What's going on? 33.
Yep, what religion?
Not really. Definitely not a Christian. I don't believe they're whatever you want to say about what they believe in the Bible, but I just really wanted to.
Wait, sorry. Are you on like Bluetooth? You should un-Bluetooth. The audio is pretty bad.
1 second. Yeah, I got my AirPods on. Hello, can you hear me better?
Yeah, it's much better. Yeah. Yeah. So, do you think God exists?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, what makes you think that God exists?
Well, I just heard from your last argument. I think it was like 2 people ago. You said that the universe technically is like always existed, or
Yeah, certainly seem. Well, yeah, I do think that there's always going to be a universe in every state of affairs.
okay. Do you believe in like life outside of this universe or anything?
I
Or
don't see why I would.
So why only here?
I think that this is like the universe wherein things exist. Like, if there are universes external to this universe, then I guess there'd be life outside of this universe.
Also, you don't believe in multiple universe. You just believe like once after the previous universe is done, you get the new universe and
I might believe in
whatever goes
multiple
on.
universes, to be honest.
You say you do believe?
Yeah, I do. I think that there's good evidence from quantum mechanics. I also think that, well, I'm sorry, this is from my physics people in the audience, don't worry about this. I think that if this wave function is an existent one, if it's like possible that this wave function exists, then I'm inclined to think that every possible wave function is going to exist, which is going to instantiate, I mean, you know, every possible universe that goes along with that.
Okay.
But yeah, so sure. To answer your question, to make it simple, yes, yeah, I think that there probably are multiple universes, yeah.
Okay, so that takes me back to my original question: why life only with us or here where
Like
we
on
haven't
the Earth?
seen? Well, yeah, or just in general, anywhere. I mean, I don't believe we've had any proof of life anywhere else, have we?
Yeah, but we haven't looked very much. I mean, we've only scratched the surface of the universe around us. The way life emerged here is just via chemical reactions. You know, we had the right ingredients for it. We're at like roughly the right position to have things like liquid water. So life emerged here because the conditions were right.
See, because this is my problem with the thing. I believe in a higher power because of just things like this, in a sense. I mean, I feel like something had to play a part in just in general, like just that argument. Like I said, the life we have here, like why not life for somewhere else that might have been different and stuff like that, you know?
Have you looked into things like evolution or things like abiogenesis, into like the actual origins of life?
I mean, not too in depth, but I mean, I know the.
Don't you think that that's where you should go first?
Like evolution. I mean, even with the whole evolution thing, I kind of have my skepticisms about that stuff.
Like what? Why?
I mean, just in general. So as far as evolution, what like who do you feel like? You feel like we coming from like the like ape side of things, or like
humans just are apes. Like we're classified as great apes, and that's just obviously true. When you compare us to the other great apes, when you compare us to our fossil record, it's just like obviously the case that we share an ancestor with them. You can literally see the points of divergence in the fossil record. And then you look to like our DNA, and we share like the vast majority of our DNA with them, way more than other species. We share, you know, various like retroviruses. Like there's just so many things that.
So even as far as the evolution, then with that argument, would you say so what all species pretty much evolved like at the same time? We're not gonna see anything like in between where you don't see
quite. Species like gradually turn into other species. So evolution is constantly going on, but things evolve at different rates. Like some species have been here for the last like 100 million years because the design is so good that nature hasn't really needed to change it. Like there isn't this gets into like, I don't know, like advanced like computer science stuff, but there are like stable points. There are stable points for your species to be at, and there isn't much incentive to move or change in any way. Like sharks are a great example. Sharks have been sharks for the last like 100 million years or something. It's just a good design. There's kind of nothing to change.
Yeah, right. But like I said, so what I'm trying to get at is, I mean, why we don't see just different spectacle, like as far as the apes now, or the apes we have now, why don't we see like into sex of like apes that are just plain old like the apes we know now? We see like some that are in a sense like evolving like in the middle of the humanoids we are and the whatever primate stage.
I'm not sure I understand your question. Are you asking like why aren't there like half human, like half like chimpanzees?
I mean, in a second, like I said, if we didn't all evolve, you said it takes time, and obviously certain species end up dying off, and then you get the new species. But why are we not seeing like the middle of that? Why are we not seeing all that play out?
Well, I mean, humans do have evolutionary differences between us. Like there are like micro differences. For example, the cultures that didn't have much dairy, where dairy isn't like a big part. Like for example, like Asian cultures, indigenous American cultures, like the people from these cultures are way more likely to be lactose intolerant. You know, there are cultures where people's lungs, you know, diving cultures where people were like divers and then their lungs are like huge compared to other humans.
Yeah,
like we just kind of
like
do see like evolutionary differences between us, but they're like relatively slight, not to the point of like different species or anything approaching that.
I mean, well, what I was gonna say about that is like I feel like that stuff that even, I mean, with the whole lung stuff, I mean, we could train our bodies to do that type of stuff, and the whole lactose thing. I mean, shit, my brother's lactose. He's been drinking milk and doing, you know. So I mean, I don't really see that as a real evolutionary. I feel like you either just. Well, wait, I mean, yeah, I guess it would depend
like, that's
more
like
on
a
the
gene
culture,
thing, right? Like your brother has the genes for that.
So, I mean, but even with that same argument, wouldn't they have those same genes?
Wouldn't who?
In a sense of whatever gene is making my brother lactose, wouldn't that mean that those people over there, just because they haven't messed with the dairy products and all that, that's why they're also lactose?
Yeah, so they're more likely to. Like the gene, I forget which one's the mutation, whether lactose intolerance or lactose tolerance is the mutation, but regardless, it comes down like basically entirely to genetic factors, and it's just a question of whether or not you have the gene that allows your body to produce lactase. Oh yeah, lactose tolerance. Most animals are lactose intolerant. Some humans are lactose tolerant because their culture involved a lot of dairy, whereas other cultures didn't evolve that.
See, but that's what I'm saying. So now, is it genes or is it evolution?
Evolution codes for genes. Evolution is the thing that tends towards specific genes.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be born with those said genes.
Wait, what? I'm not sure I understood the sentence that you just said.
I said it doesn't guarantee that you're born with those said genes, because like I said, I mean, technically, if I use my brother as an example, like I said, he's lactose, I'm not. And my parents, neither of them are.
But they definitely have like the gene for it, clearly. Yeah, this is how genetics work, right? You know, you share like a specific amount of genetic material with your siblings, but you don't share all of it. Otherwise, you'd just be identical twins. And then there are also epigenetic factors.
All right. yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, to me, I don't really see it as a, because even like with the example of the people that like their culture or custom, like divers, let's just say they got bigger lungs, more lung capacity or whatever. I feel like even like, let's say I go out there and I spend a couple years doing what they do, and eventually I'm gonna be able to be underwater just as long as they are. And
They're
I
gonna
wasn't
be
born with
way
their lung
better at it.
capacity, or
they're gonna be predisposed to be like way better at it. Like frankly.
no, yeah, exactly. And the I said eventually I'll be able to adapt my lungs to actually do it for
No,
either
even if
just
you
as
do it
long
for
or
as long as
maybe just a little under, just because.
absolutely not even close, not even the ballpark. This is like saying like I could be like Usain Bolt in like a foot race if I just like train hard enough. Like it's not happening.
See, I mean, I don't know.
There's just no circumstance where I
don't see
could
that.
train and be Usain Bolt. He's just like built for it. You know, there's no circumstance where I could train and beat like Michael Phelps. He's just built for it.
I mean, yeah, he was. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. All right, so Michael Phelps, using him as an issue, you think Michael Phelps is up to par with the guys that were born and raised with these bigger lung capacity and all that? I mean, Michael Phelps trained all his life for this stuff, so
I have
he
no
worked
idea.
his body to get to that point. You know what I mean? I mean,
I don't know.
He was training. He did all this. He did all this work to get to that point, to be who he is now.
Maybe.
But like I said, these guys with the culture, they're born. They're, in a sense, you're saying they're born like this, pretty much from.
Wait, sorry, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they're disposed towards having a higher lung capacity than other people. So, Michael Phelps, like I don't know, maybe it is comparable. Michael Phelps, his lung capacity and the lung capacity of this like diver group, I have no idea. But if these people from this diving culture trained as hard as Michael Phelps did, they would for sure have greater lung capacity than he does.
Way better than he does.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess this is just more. I will have to like.
Yeah, you should look into evolution a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just have to read up a little more on it or whatnot. I mean, like I said, to me, it's just, I feel like everything is for a reason, and I don't think that reason is just for nothing.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on up. Appreciate it. Let's go to the very next guest. If you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yep. How old are you?
30.
Yep. What religion?
I'm a Christian.
Yeah. What makes you think that God exists?
Just I guess what I see like in nature and stuff like that. But I wanted to talk about the evolution topic for a second. That's okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
So for evolution, is it just superior? Would you say like superior aspects of whatever the creatures get passed on?
Not necessarily. It's just that traits that help you. Sorry, backing up a step even further, the genes that lead to traits that make it more likely for you to survive and reproduce are more likely to be passed on. It's a statistical process. Not every single trait that's good for survival is going to get passed on. Not every single trait that's detrimental to survival is going to get weeded out. And he left. Why did he leave? Return immediately. Where the fuck did he go? Come back, we miss you. That's so sad. Okay. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, hello.
Yeah, how old are you?
33.
And what religion?
Christian.
Yep. What makes you think that God exists?
Faith.
Okay, do you think faith gives like justification for beliefs?
I do.
Okay, so if I had faith that faith doesn't give justification for beliefs, would I be justified in believing that?
I mean, I guess, yes, you would be justified in believing that because you're entitled to believe whatever it is that you want to believe. But,
Then this is self-defeating.
I mean, it's more abstract than just that, though.
Okay. You're saying that you get faith for, or
Not
sorry, that
just
you get
blind
evidence for your
faith.
religion just by having faith in it.
I mean, no, I didn't say I was giving evidence for my religion.
Oh, do you have any
You
evidence?
just asked for my religion.
I just want to know, like, do you have evidence for the religion?
I mean, I'm not consigning to the religion. The question is God real?
Do you have evidence
Not
that God
my religion
exists? That's fine.
is real. I mean, no, I don't have evidence that God exists. I believe through faith that God exists.
Do you think this is like
I
a
don't have
logical
evidence.
belief?
I mean, I think I got here logically to this belief. Yes.
How?
Well, through having it introduced to me as a concept when I was younger, and then as I grew up, like taking that concept and exploring it more and questioning it, and then not just questioning it, but also through experiences that I've lived through to see things that are inexplicable happen. And it's like, I don't know.
Well, I have some
I do
questions
believe
about it.
there.
Maybe you can help me with that.
Sure.
Do you think, okay, if God is morally perfect, wouldn't we expect there to be way less suffering in the world?
Why would I expect there to be way less suffering in this world based off of God's perfection?
Yeah, because an empathetic being is opposed to suffering. The more empathetic a person is, the more empathetic an individual is, the less they tolerate suffering and the greater extents they'll go to stop suffering. Like when somebody has like a deep amount of empathy for like another
So
people
can I
group,
pause you real
they'll
quick?
throw their lives on the line. They'll do anything to reduce the
But
suffering
you
in
hear
these
what you're
individuals. So if
it's
God's like infinitely
about body,
empathetic, then we would expect him to go infinitely far to reduce suffering. He would be infinitely opposed to it.
No.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, my mistake.
Because
Thanks.
well, I mean that's measuring what we see as empathy against what is perceived as a divine being. Like it's a completely different level of existence. It's what we can consider empathy compared to a divine being of this magnitude. It's like comparing apples to oranges.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that God has empathy, like infinite empathy?
I think that God, the concept of God is it surpasses our understanding.
Then what
Like
is it
we
that you
can't
believe
really.
in?
I
If you
mean,
don't have
I
a
believe
concept, then how can you believe in it?
I can believe in the concept of God, but to try to put myself into a level of understanding compared to a divine, like all-knowing, omniscient being, it's not. It's two different realms.
Well, if God's omniscient, wouldn't that just make him empathetic?
I mean, it would also make him a lot of other things as well.
Yeah, including empathetic, right? So God is infinitely empathetic just based on the fact that he knows everything, and empathy is like a type of knowledge.
Okay, but through that empathy in Christianity, because he was so empathetic, he sacrificed the only son that he would ever have, because that was the perfect sacrifice in order to absolve us of the sin nature
What?
that we are born into.
Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense at all. Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he just make it so that you don't need to, that you can just like ask for forgiveness or whatever?
Because of empathy.
Why? Why was that the more empathetic thing to do?
Because at one point in time we used to sacrifice to God.
Why? Wait, why would he ask for that? That doesn't sound very empathetic.
Why are we trying to again understand a God?
No, well, you said that he did this because he's empathetic. None of this sounds empathetic.
Providing us with a perfect sacrifice.
Why is the sacrifice necessary in the first place?
Well, because he's a God.
Why would he want sacrifices?
I mean, offerings.
Well, yeah, why does he give a fuck? I mean, I don't give a fuck what the ants think.
No, you don't give a fuck what the ants think.
Why does he give a fuck what he thinks, what we think?
You didn't create the ants.
If I did, let's say I grew the ants in my little ant farm.
And you subjugated them.
Yeah. You know, why the fuck would I care with the ants? I might care about their well-being. I'm certainly not going to have them like sacrifice things to me.
I mean, again, it's not for us to understand
that
realm of thinking because we are not gods.
Okay, so God is maximally empathetic, though. You agree with that?
I do agree that God is maximally. I honestly no. I feel like saying maximally empathetic is like overreaching. It's an assumption. Like I don't assume that he is anything.
You don't think that God knows experientially what it's like to be us and then responds in appropriate ways?
I mean, I think it would be really egotistical to think that God would care enough about any one individual person to intervene in their
I thought he was
life
loving.
directly.
God's all loving, but he's like some deadbeat dad?
No. I mean, just because you're all loving doesn't mean that you're going to intervene in everything. Like,
surely you're going to intervene when it's necessary.
I mean, but what we might deem as necessary, we cannot compare to what God would deem as necessary.
In fact, I think like a being that loves you, it's not even just like when it's necessary. It's also you would go out of your way to do loving acts towards the individuals.
I mean, and who's to say that God doesn't do loving act towards individuals every day? Maybe not towards every single individual at the same time every single day, but
some people get raped to death. God created God chose a timeline where some people get raped to death. Why not choose a timeline where that doesn't happen?
I mean, that's to say that there is an alternate timeline.
Do you think that God could only create one possible timeline?
I think that God can do whatever he really would want to do.
Is there a timeline where that never happens to anyone?
I mean, there's no alternate timeline than the timeline that we are currently on.
So you're like a necessitarian. You think that there's only one timeline that God could have created?
I don't think that there's one. I think that there's cause and effect, and through that cause and effect is what creates this current timeline.
Could God have created a timeline wherein that never happens?
I mean, God gave us free will, so...
Is it a yes or a no? Could God create the timeline where we just all freely will, with our free will, to never do that?
I mean, that would not be necessarily free will then, would it?
Wait, sorry, but we have free will, so God doesn't have the power to make us with free will in a timeline where we make the decision? I would seem to follow that we don't have free will then, because God made us, according to you, have free will in a timeline where we do rape each other to death. So, like, clearly we wouldn't have free will if it's also no free will under the other circumstance.
But this is pertaining to your argument that there's the possibility of alternate.
Is there a possible timeline where nobody chooses to rape anybody to death?
I mean, my frame of thinking is more like I see God as like an very like offhand parent. Like,
I just want to know if there's a timeline. Also, no, you don't.
I mean,
you just told me earlier that God sacrificed himself to himself to save us from himself.
Okay.
I just want to know if there's like a possible timeline where we, with our free will, choose to never do that.
I don't think that there is a possible timeline.
You think, oh, then we don't have free will because we couldn't freely choose. It wasn't even a possibility for us to not choose this. So there's no free will.
There's just so many variables. Like how, in order for that timeline to happen, like so many things would have to transpire and coincide exactly perfectly.
Yep. Yeah. Well, then it just sounds like there's no free will because you don't think it's possible for everybody to, with their own free will, choose to never rape anyone to death.
I don't think that it's possible that everybody.
So some people just had to. There was no choice. They just had to.
I mean, it's a matter of nurture over nature, I guess.
Okay.
It's, the situations that people are born into.
Sure.
The
So then they didn't have free will.
They do have free will. I mean,
they had free will, but they couldn't have chose otherwise. They had free will, but they had to do this. They couldn't have not done it.
I mean, they could have done whatever it is that they wanted to do, but they chose to do that.
Could they have chosen not to?
Yes, they could have chosen that.
Sure. So then there's a possible world where nobody chooses this.
But we don't live in that world.
No, I agree, but I just need you to agree that there's a possible timeline where that takes place.
I don't believe in an alternate timeline than the one that we're currently on.
Is there a possible timeline where nobody chooses that? Is that a possible timeline that God could have created?
I guess, yes. There is a possible timeline that God could have created, but that's not where we're at.
Okay, did God create the best possible timeline?
I mean, God created the timeline. Who is it? Who are we to dictate, the best possible timeline? Like,
is he all good?
Comparing it to? What are we comparing it to?
The other possible timelines.
What are we comparing this timeline to?
The other possible timelines.
So the infinite number of other possible timelines.
Yeah. Surely some timelines are worse than others and some timelines are better.
Yeah. Okay. But that we don't know anything of those timelines. We only know of this timeline.
You don't think we can know anything about those other timelines?
No, everything
okay,
else is
well, so here's a question. You agree that there's a possible timeline where nobody ever gets raped to death. What's the better timeline, this one or that one?
I mean, that's a theory, though.
You agreed to it. You agreed that it's possible. Which timeline's better?
The perfect timeline where there is no disease and there is no raping and there is no sin.
Sure. That's so there's a better timeline than the one we currently live in.
Yes.
Yeah. So God didn't make the best timeline.
God created the timeline and created us, and he gave us free will.
Did he know what the timeline was going to be before he created?
Who's to know? How can I say whether I know whether
well, either
or not
he did or he didn't, right? If he doesn't, then he's not all-knowing.
Okay. And if he did?
Yeah, then he could have selected the timeline where sin doesn't happen.
And why wouldn't he have?
Why wouldn't he what?
Why wouldn't he have selected that timeline?
Because you think sin exists.
Well, sin does exist.
Yeah, so clearly he didn't select the timeline where we don't sin.
Well, he created us and gave us free will from the get-go.
So he didn't select the timeline where we just freely choose not to sin. He selected the timeline where we freely choose to sin.
He didn't select the timeline.
He didn't? So he didn't know what he was making before he made it?
Maybe time isn't linear. Maybe it's like free form. Maybe like everything was abstract because time is something that we as humans created.
Well, I just want to know, like, did he know what timeline he was creating before he created it?
But time is something that we as humans created as a unit of measurement, and like you keep referring.
Measurement of what? We could call it like the change line if you'd like. What do you think time's a measure of?
I mean, Time is a linear measurement to keep track of history, I guess.
Yeah. Could God have made the history where like sin doesn't occur? Could God have made that history?
I mean, let's go back to like the idea that we had originally where we were talking about like you.
That's you just don't want to answer the question.
No, I'm trying to like
I just want to know, like, does God have the power to make a world where we all have free will and there's no sin?
I guess so. Yes, but what would be as
And
fun
that's
in
the
that?
better timeline, so God didn't create the best timeline.
I mean, who's to say though?
You did earlier. You said the best timeline, the perfect timeline is the one where we don't sin.
Right, but that's not the timeline that we live in.
Yeah, so then God didn't create the best timeline. There's a better timeline, so he didn't create the best.
God created us, and we were the imperfect ones. That doesn't fall on him, that falls on us.
He created the imperfect thing, so God didn't create the best timeline.
Well, I mean, it's like anything, any scientist in a lab that's attempting to create something, and you know, it just wasn't perfect. And
So
rather
God
than
just
destroying
made a
it,
mistake?
start all over again. I mean,
Didn't
is
he
it a
already know
mistake?
what was going to happen?
Is it a mistake though?
If you're saying there's like this
When
better
you're creating
timeline,
something, I don't feel like that. Like there's any mistakes in
maybe
creation.
how about I just go ahead and like formalize this, so we can get some real deal progress. Okay.
I don't know.
The
Honestly,
best
like,
timeline is the one
why don't we shift away from this specific argument?
where we have free will and don't sin. We don't live in the timeline. Wait, sorry. The best possible. Oop, fuck. I fucked up. Timeline is the one where we have free will and don't sin. We don't live in the timeline where we have free will. And don't sin. Therefore, we don't live in the best possible timeline. If God created the timeline, then God did not create the best possible timeline. Okay. Which premise here would you reject? 1, 2, or 3?
I would definitely reject premise 3.
That if God created the timeline, then God did not create the best possible timeline? Or
right.
Oh, wait, sorry. That God did create the best possible time. That's what I need for the contradiction. If God created the timeline, then God did create the best possible timeline. So then you would just agree with all of it?
Honestly, I don't. The thing is, like, there's nothing that I have to compare this to. Anything that I would try to compare this to would be purely hypothetical.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So
right,
you
but
said
like,
earlier
why
that
am I
there's a
trying to
better
compare
timeline. Do you
like
lack
the actual
creativity? Are you
reality
unable
that
to? With the, I'm sorry. Let's do. Then this has like a far easier reductio. Do you think the world would be a better place if cancer didn't exist? If you had the power to make all cancer disappear instantly, would you do it?
Sure. Yes. If I
Would
had the
God?
power right now.
If God had the power to make all cancer disappear instantly, would God do that?
Why would he?
Because that would be the good thing to do.
I
Cancer is
mean, that
bad.
would be the good thing to us to do. Like
Do you
that's
think
how
God
we
thinks
think.
that's the
That's what
good
I'm
thing to
saying. Like
do, getting rid of
we keep
cancer?
trying to compare
Does God think
humans'
cancer is bad?
thoughts to a divine being's thoughts.
Does God think cancer is bad?
Maybe God doesn't think about cancer at all.
Oh, sure. And does God always do what's morally perfect?
what's considered morally perfect to God is not the same as what we would here on earth would consider morally perfect.
So who's right between God and us? Who's right? God doesn't think cancer is bad. Who's right?
See, the question isn't that it's being posed isn't whether God is right or not. It's whether God is real or not.
Yeah, that's what we're getting at. So who's right? I think cancer's bad. You think cancer's bad. God doesn't think cancer's bad. Who's right?
I mean, maybe God doesn't consider whether cancer is bad or good or bad at all.
Who's right?
I mean, then again, like cancer, I feel like cancer was.
I just want to know which one of us is right between us and God. We disagree with God. Who's correct and who's incorrect?
I mean, did God create cancer?
No. God doesn't think cancer is bad. We think cancer is bad. Who's right?
But did God create cancer?
Wait, sorry, do you want to answer the question? I just want to know who's right.
I don't agree with the question that you're posing at all. So,
What's the false presupposition?
False presupposition? What's that mean?
To disagree with the question, there would need to be something in the question that I presuppose that you disagree with.
Yeah, you're presupposing that I can even begin to gain a realm of possibility as to what God thinks about.
I just want to know who's right, because you've told me that you think that God doesn't think that cancer is bad.
I never said that God does not think that cancer is bad. I said God might not even care about cancer in a whole.
Okay. Is that the rational thing to do?
Like it's like that's like you having an ant farm and caring about one of your ants.
You can make this even simpler. God always does the right thing.
Cancer is not like a naturally occurring thing. Most cancers humans have caused.
God does not cure cancer. Therefore, not curing cancer is the right thing to do. Would you reject premise 1 or premise 2?
I don't know. I think I agree with C. Not curing cancer is the right thing to do.
You think not curing cancer is the right thing to do?
Yeah, I do think that not curing cancer.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Okay. That's crazy. All right. Well. All right. Let's move on to the very next guest.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? How old are you?
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for accepting me.
Yep.
I'm 27.
And what religion?
I'm a Christian.
Sure. What makes you think that God exists?
Well, there's a lot of complicated arguments, but can I just give you an easy exercise kind of?
Yeah, let's do it.
You might have heard of this before, but it's called the watchmaker. So say you're on a beach, you're walking down the beach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see just a pocket watch laying in the sand. Your first thought, are you going to assume that the pocket watch came to be just by coincidence, or that it has an intelligent creator behind the pocket watch?
Well, first, I don't think that that's a true dichotomy, but if the true dichotomy you're asking me there is do I think that it came from a designer or not from a designer? I'm going to think that it came from a designer because I know where watches come from. I have prior information in this regard.
Okay, pretend you've never seen a watch in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have that prior information to go off of.
Yeah.
So basically, the argument is the watch is so complex in its design. It's working. It's so incredible how it works, right? It's simple, but it's complicated at the same time. All the gears are working in unison to make the hands turn and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So any rational, normal human being you would have to assume the only logical explanation is that the watch comes from a creator.
I wouldn't be so sure. when humans are introduced to new pieces of technology that they have literally no prior information on, people all of the time come away with the impression that it is just a part of like the natural world, or that, you know, it's something that's just like beyond their comprehension. I think if I had literally no information about watches, or like, for example, I didn't know where money came from for the longest time. I think there was a time where I did believe that money came from trees when I was really, really young. So I don't know. I think that absent the prior information, it's kind of hard to make a judgment about what you would assume.
Well, it's not a hard question. It's not a trick question or anything. You would have to say that that pocket watch is no different than the seashells next to it and the sticks and rocks. But clearly, any smart human being, you can tell.
Say that.
Well, yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, you would have to assume
like there are
that,
obviously differences between all three of these things.
Yeah, one is just there naturally, just created. It's just. There's nothing to it. But the other one has an intelligent creator. It's obviously different. It's distinct, right? So
wait,
basically, to finish.
Okay, sure. So you're just not going to engage with the counter argument at all. I see. Okay.
Oh, no, you could give a counter. I just wanted to finish.
I already gave one and you didn't respond to it.
What was it?
Yeah. It's specifically that when people encounter new pieces of technology with zero prior information, like we have a pretty consistent track record of not recognizing it as such. Like you can look to the boat cults, for example. They literally formed like religions around like these boats. They didn't assume that it was created by humans like them. They assumed that it was manufactured by like gods or something. Like people think that things came from, or even just that they like always existed.
So you're saying, there's like another possibility if they see this pocket watch, they could just think that.
I wouldn't trust my judgment if I have zero prior information. Like I think that the judgments that we make with zero, like if I went to like an alien planet and I found something that had like interconnecting components to it, I don't know. I mean, I have prior knowledge, but I don't even know what I would think if I didn't have the prior knowledge.
Well, I'm not saying like you're a newborn baby,
Do I have prior knowledge, or like what do I know?
I'm just saying like don't overthink the question. Just like
but
a normal human being.
I shouldn't approach it with my prior knowledge. So what knowledge should I approach it with?
Well, that's because you said, well, you were using that to defeat the argument, to like cheat your way out of it,
Well,
You're
it's not really
well, I would already
this
know.
is like a pretty common critique of the argument.
Wait, what is?
That we know where watches come from, so it's not analogous.
Oh my God. But you see, that's not really answering the heart of the question.
Okay. Sure. Let's answer the heart of the question, whatever that means. I don't think that humans or that like rocks look very much like watches. So I don't assume that like a rock or a human came from an intelligent designer because of how poorly designed the human body is, if it was designed at all. So for example, we have tons of faulty genes that cause mutations, things like cancer. We also have repair mechanisms for that, and even the repair mechanisms cause new mutations. The cell looks like it was created via like random mutations to genes over billions of years. It doesn't look like it was intelligently designed at all.
Could I say why it is?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, so the argument goes, a human being is thousands of times more complex and distinct than a simple pocket watch, right? So if you have to assume the pocket watch has an intelligent creator, you have to assume a human being does as well.
That doesn't follow. That assumes that something being very complex is signs of a creator. I don't grant that. I think that complex things come about via very complex processes like evolution over billions of years, for example. I think that there are lots of simple mathematical formulas that will create very complex results. I think complex interplay of various factors across the entire universe is going to give rise to complex things. I think that what indicates to me design isn't complexity, it's simplicity. I look at my phone only has like a couple of buttons. I look to me, I have like a bunch of like useless shit that I don't actually need, like a tailbone.
So you're saying A phone is more well designed than a human being?
That there are probably fewer design flaws in it.
Well, I would just disagree with that.
Okay, then explain the fact that your kidney produces rocks and then you have to piss them out like pissing out a shard of glass. Why is that the design? How is that not a design flaw?
Okay, well, right, it builds up in there over years, and that's the best way the body can deal with it. Instead of it just fills up with, or your kidney can't work at all anymore. That's how it gets it out. But the point is, there's a bunch of these little things you could say that are poorly designed about the human body.
Why would that be the way that they get it out? Why would it do that at all?
Why would what do what? The kidney have a kidney stone? Because there's too much built up sediment. Like,
yeah, but why would the kidney be designed in a way where that's possible?
Why isn't the kidney perfect? Is that what you're asking?
Why does it get kidney stones? Why is it designed in such a way where that it gets kidney stones?
That's how it cleans itself out. You're just saying that's a negative thing, but it can be seen as a positive thing.
You think it's positive to get kidney stones? Couldn't it clean itself out some other way?
No, I'm saying the whole body has like self-cleaning, stuff like that. You could say you don't like this or that or what's good or bad, but really to say something is good or bad at all is you're using some type of moral framework.
Oh,
you have to operate off of something.
This is a teleological framework, frankly. I don't even think that this is like a moral question. This is just like a design question. But I mean, we could pivot to the moral argument if you really want to. This is.
Oh, we could go either or.
Yeah, it's fine. Whichever one you want to talk about.
Can we get into morals? Yeah,
let's do it. Yeah, I don't think that there's any basis for morality if God exists. If God exists, why ought I do what he tells me to?
Wait, say that again?
Yeah, why ought I do what God tells me to?
Why ought you? Because that's going to give the best experience. That's what's meant to. That's like what's meant to happen. You don't have to. He actually gives us free will. You have the choice not to follow him. But if you do, that will get you the best outcomes, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten like for example, are you allowed to like jerk off, or is that something that God frowns on?
It's frowned upon.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that that's like that's something that adds to the experience.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I think that my life is better fucking cranking it as opposed to not cranking it. So it seems like it can't be the case that life gets better when you follow God if God's telling you not to crank it.
Yeah, but guys who crank it all day long, they don't really get the best.
Just every once in a while.
Oh, well, you made it sound like you were just going to town, buddy.
No.
But my point is, if I could respond, people who are cranking it and prioritize that as the most important, you know what I'm saying? Well, this is your first argument. This is what you're leading with. This is what you're leading with.
Wait, that's not what I said. I didn't say does it all day long or prioritizes it over everything else in life.
This is your leading argument, brother.
Person who does it on the side. Yeah, but you're saying I can't do it at all.
I could say that. We could say on the side. It just doesn't tend to work out good for him, you know?
Oh, wait, why? But it literally decreases the rate of prostate cancer.
I didn't know that, but okay, sure. We want to say that, fine. But there's other like erectile dysfunction, social awkwardness. You're not gonna be able to talk to women. All this.
What's
you
the
have
source for like
porn
any of this
brain.
stuff? I can give you the source for, the fact that like cranking it every now and then reduces prostate cancer. What's the source that says that cranking it every now and then makes you like socially awkward?
Yeah, those guys who are into like that stuff. I mean, you could take my word for it, or you could not. You could tell me I need a study to say that guys who jerk off get ED and are awkward around girls. Or we could just go on to the next one. I'm not gonna look up a study for that.
Well, wait. So that's fine. But what if I don't care about like quality of life? Or I guess like couldn't the atheist just appeal to like literally this exact same framework that you ought do the thing, you ought I don't know, like be virtuous because it leads to the best life?
That's what a Christian would say, right?
Then you agree that atheists can have morality in the same way that Christians can have morality?
An atheist can have morality, Ian, but they can't ground it. Does that make sense?
It's grounded in like the good life is the grounding in
It's
this
grounded
instance.
in what?
The good life, right? Like you're saying follow God for the good life. Well, the atheist can likewise say be virtuous for the good life.
Well, they could say that, but it all boils down to their preference at the end of the day.
No, it doesn't. You'd have to be virtuous.
Why?
Yeah, because that's what's required for the good life.
Says who?
It says logic. I can walk you through like logical arguments for each of the virtues.
Logically, it's good, right? That's the claim. But
No.
What is good?
That's not the claim at all. The claim is going to be something like, in order for me to evaluate myself as living the good life, in order to have, so any good life is going to include basic elements like self-respect. You know, if you fucking hate yourself, you're not living a good life. But in order to have self-respect, you need self-knowledge. And in order to have self-knowledge, you would need to be able to fairly evaluate yourself, the ways that you're similar to other people, the way that you contrast from other people, you know, what you deserve, what they deserve, etc. And then you either act on those judgments or you don't. If you don't act on those judgments, then you don't have the good life because you're disregarding your own agency. And if you do act on those judgments, then you're being just because you treat like cases alike. So everyone ought be just in order to have the good life. If you're off the app, I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yep.
Oh, okay, my bad. This is my first time coming on this.
That's okay.
One of these.
You're all good.
Okay, all right. So I hear what you're saying, right? You're saying the atheist could say all this stuff, right? There's no difference between him and the Christian. Okay, logically, right? But my point is, you got to take it like a layer deeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for the atheist to say what is a quote unquote good life, he has an idea of what's good and bad. And his idea of good and bad, he cannot objectively ground that.
No, you
A
can.
Christian can.
No, you can. You can ground it in
Christians can
eudaimonia.
through the Bible.
Oh, well, the atheist can through eudaimonia, the good life. If you're off the app, I can't hear you.
What is this, the good life? Like, what is
Yeah.
good to an atheist?
Yeah.
One atheist can think injecting heroin is good. Another atheist could think kicking
but then
puppies
that
is
would be
good.
that would be the first one would be intemperate, so that would lead to a contradiction on their own worldview, and the second one is unjust, so that would lead to a contradiction on their own worldview.
What's the worldview? Atheism?
Yeah, just the view that God doesn't exist. It takes pretty minimal commitments to generate like moral contradictions. Yeah.
Wait, my bad. Wait, so you're saying atheists could have objective moral? You said it will contradict his own worldview if one atheist says kicking a dog is good.
Yeah, that would be a contradiction. You wouldn't be able to evaluate your own life, which means that you wouldn't be able to have self-respect, which means that you wouldn't be able to have the good life.
What do you mean? Yeah, can you break that down? You wouldn't be able to evaluate your own life. What do you mean?
In order to have a good life, you would need to have self-respect. A good life is minimally going to be the sort of life that you can reflect on and think, yeah, this is going good. In order to have that, you need to have self-knowledge in order to evaluate your life in the first place. And in order to have self-knowledge, that's going to require fairly evaluating yourself and others. Otherwise, your judgments are unjustified, so it's not knowledge. And if you're fairly evaluating yourself and others, well, either you follow those judgments or you don't. If you don't follow those judgments, then you're going to be not living the good life because you disrespect your own agency. The only option that's left there is that you follow your judgments where you fairly evaluate people. And that just is justice, right? Justice is when you treat like cases alike, when you're fair towards everyone.
Okay, I hear that, but that differs between people. Justice for him is different for her, and what's good to him is different to her. You see what I'm saying?
That's the good thing, is that justice is treating like cases alike. So,
but that's so broad and vague, it means nothing.
No, it does mean something, because you can't give yourself preferential treatment over other people.
Treat like cases alike. That's not like an objective standard.
It is an objective standard.
That's so vague. What treat like case a like case
for example,
could be a like another like case.
For example, let's say that you're going to go murder someone but then you remembered that you have to treat like cases alike. Well, you can't murder someone because if they murdered you, then you wouldn't be able to complete your goal. So you couldn't consistently treat like cases alike there, which means that that would be in violation of justice. It gives pretty concrete prescriptions, actually.
The atheist worldview?
Virtue
Concrete?
ethics does.
Oh, virtue ethics. So
Yeah.
you ground morality in
eudaimonia, reflective agency.
What is because I heard people ground it before, utilitarianism, they say harm, basically. I heard of that one, but I never heard of what you're saying right now. What is this?
Eudaimonia is like good, like the good life. Like the good life, it's like happiness, but happiness is like a state of being across the entire life that's like justified. It doesn't translate well out of Greek, but
yeah, how do they define happiness? Like, I'm happy if I'm on drugs, but that doesn't mean I'm living a good life.
It's like it's happiness, but it's like a state of being. It's like a justified happiness, the sort of happiness that's worth having.
According to who? Like a drug addict thinks it's worth to get high and be happy. He thinks that's worth it.
But then
So
this
it's like,
person can't even have self-respect.
according to who? How? Like, explain.
Because insofar as you're disregarding your own goals, you're disregarding your own priorities, you're disregarding what you as an individual can achieve, what you deserve
But
to
that
achieve.
is his priority.
Wait, sorry, but you could achieve so much more, and you're going to die early for no reason. You know, unfortunately, you have obligations towards yourself and others. You don't get to like take your own life in a situation where you can easily keep on living. You know?
No, I agree with you, and I would say all those exact same things. But it's like the people on the streets doing drugs. If we told them this, they would disagree and pick up the needle again. You see what I'm saying?
Well, they're being intemperate.
Okay,
They
explain
cause
that.
themselves like excessive harm for no reason, towards no end. They contribute nothing to themselves, nothing to society. They're not actualizing their potential towards anything. They're not, I don't know, exercising these things that are going to be like a key component of human life. You know, I think you should give back to your community. Your community is given to you. You're not treating like cases alike.
Exactly. So if those people exist, Ian, how are you going to say you're right and they're wrong?
Yeah, because there's a contradiction on their worldview. I just explained this to you.
The worldview you said.
Yeah, they can't. They aren't treating like cases alike. You know, they give nothing
You
to
said they wouldn't-
society,
you
and
said
then
all
they
these
siphon off of
things-
society. So that's not treating like cases alike.
Because they don't contribute to society?
Yeah, and like for example, I don't think that there's anything wrong with like, you know, using drugs or whatever. I just think that it needs to fit into your life in a temperate way.
Well, I guess, we could, recreational sometimes, but like, can you agree that nobody should be shooting up fentanyl in the street? You could agree with that, right?
Probably. Yeah, I'm probably inclined to, especially if it's like, if it's your entire life, then something's gone very wrong here. I don't know, it's like an injustice to society and it's intemperate.
So it's like, you sound like you're appealing to society or some type of consensus or something.
No, not at all. No, I'm just saying that
It doesn't
in order
contribute to
treat
society?
like cases alike, because society contributes things to you. So in order to treat like cases alike, you need to contribute like bare minimum things back to society.
Oh, that makes sense. Treat like cases are like, I'm starting to get what you mean now.
Yeah.
So society contributes to you, you contribute back.
Yep.
I guess. Okay. So that's basically, if you don't have utilitarianism, right? Because I would argue my morals come from the Bible, right? I would argue that's the objective standard, is where you ground them, is objective for everybody. So even if the drug addict says, no, it's good to do drugs in the street, I can say, no, the Bible says it's wrong, buddy.
But which verse says that that's wrong?
There's not a specific verse that says homeless people shouldn't do fentanyl in the middle of Times
How do you ground
Square.
that objectively as being wrong on your view? Because I grounded it as wrong on my view. I'm super curious how like a Christian could ground that as being wrong.
Doing drugs in Times Square?
Yeah.
Doing fent?
Yeah, like what verse would you point to?
Oh yeah, I can't give you a verse for fentanyl in Times Square.
Well, I guess
but-
that's a reason to have like atheist morality over Christian morality, because it doesn't seem like you're able to account for the wrongness of people like fent folding in Times Square.
Well, no. Wait, I can't account for it? You're saying
what's the moral basis for saying that that's wrong?
Because you're supposed to treat the body like a temple.
Wait, sorry, which verse?
I need an exact verse.
Yeah, I just want like the verse that says that you can't do that.
Do you have a verse from do you have a handbook or a manifesto or a guidelines that, and are you citing off the exact page and
Well, I gave you the
sentence?
explanation for why it's unjust. You know, you said
Can I
that
not?
it's objective in virtue of the Bible.
Can I not give you the explanation back that you gave to
Well,
me?
if you do that, then you're borrowing from secular morality, right? Everyone becomes like an atheist and holds the atheistic morality when it really comes time, right? You have to borrow from the atheist worldview in order to explain your own moral intuitions. That also means that God's not the source of goodness.
Oh, I think that was actually a good point. Could you say that again?
Yeah, you're borrowing from the atheist worldview in order to explain your basic moral intuitions, and also God's not the source of goodness.
Wait, but how is that the case if I just reference the Bible without quoting it?
Because you're saying that the explanation I gave you for why it's wrong is the same explanation that you would appeal to for why it's wrong?
No, I'm appealing to an objective set of morals.
What's the objective set of morals? Like where in it does it say that it's wrong to do drugs?
It says that you're supposed to treat the body like a temple, like don't put nothing bad into it. You're supposed to treat it healthily and stuff like that.
Would it be wrong? Oh wait, sorry, one sec. I guess where does it specify that doing that is not treating the body like a temple? Like what's the standard for determining what is and isn't treating the body like a temple?
Well, I would assume like
what if somebody disagrees with you about what it means to treat the body like a temple?
That's actually a good criticism of the Bible. I'm trying to learn all these arguments. I'm just learning all this,
That's
right?
okay,
Mind
that's
you,
okay.
mind you. But
Yeah.
okay, right? I think they would say that it goes down to there's specific people who are in charge of interpreting the Bible. Not anybody can do that. And they have done it throughout history. And it's like they're in agreement mostly.
Which people, pray tell?
I forgot the term, but there's not just anybody can interpret the Bible how they want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, I think it's good to do like what you were just saying. I forgot the name. It's like, I forgot. But there's certain people that we trust to do this.
What denomination are you?
I would say probably Catholic or Orthodox. I'm learning about, I'm
Sure.
getting into learning.
It's gonna be a huge difference, but right. I mean, I agree with you that those are gonna be the only ones that are even gonna be able to remotely run something like you just said. But yeah, sure. I mean, I guess. But then I think Catholic. I think both of them have like really implausible commitments, and also like the ethics are like frankly absurd. Like natural law theory is like silly. It's like obviously wrong.
What's silly about natural law?
Okay. Do you think kissing like a girlfriend is in line with like the natural function of the mouth?
Is kissing a girl the natural function of a mouth? Yeah.
Oh, really? How do you determine what the natural function of the mouth is?
What it was designed to do, what most people do with it.
So if most people were like doing Fent, it would then be like in line with the purpose of like the veins, or I don't know how the fuck people do Fent, but it's like in line with like the bloodstream to do that.
No, it can't just be consensus alone because that's stupid.
I agree, which is why I'm kind of surprised that you said it.
Well, I gave another one too with it.
Okay. So not consensus, but in terms of like what it's designed to do, how do I determine what it's designed to do?
You could study it.
Study the mouth?
Yeah.
Are we about to kiss?
I'd prefer not.
Okay. That's fair. That's fine. I respect your consent. So it's not clear to me how we come to these determinations. Like, I know they want to make like an empirical claim, but it's not like what part of like studying the mouth would lead you to the belief that it's okay to kiss people with it?
Well, look at your mom and dad. That's how human beings study. The first studying comes is when you're a baby, right? And you observe how your mom and dad act. And A lot of the ways you determine what's normal is from watching them. And if one mom and dad is crazy and they okay, fine, but if the vast majority of healthy mom and dads kiss, then that should tell you something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can make like similar arguments about like a lot of things that Christianity it wants to like I don't know, like it doesn't want you to do. Like I don't know, for example, you know, Christianity says that you can't get like divorced ever, even in like really extreme instances.
They say that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It says you can only get divorced if your partner like cheats on you, basically.
Yeah, so that's not never.
But like
If
surely if your partner is like beating the fuck out of you, you should be able to get the divorce.
Yeah, they wouldn't condone that.
Like they well, I know they wouldn't, but they also Jesus says explicitly like you can't get divorced. He says the one and only circumstance is cheating.
One and only is cheating. So
Yeah.
even if he's like cutting off one of her fingers every day.
Yeah.
And you think he meant that to be interpreted like that?
He says it so damn frequently. I think he says it in multiple places too.
Really? That is interesting. No, because Ian, I'm interested in this topic because I agree with you. I think there are contradictions in the Bible, which so it's interesting when you're trying to learn all this.
Yeah.
Like what do you think about God says he's supposed to be all powerful, right?
Yeah.
So he lacks nothing. Then why do you require worship? And why do you it's interesting.
Yeah. I think that there are like deeper problems there. So I don't think that God has like meaningful free will. Like, okay, God has to do the morally perfect thing. It's his essence. He can't really choose to not do it. Like the choice just isn't on the table. Like
True.
So if somebody can't choose to, if somebody like by their very essence like needs to do the morally perfect thing, it kind of seems like they aren't really like praiseworthy. Like it's not like they went out of their way to like choose to do it. It's not even clear that they're like morally responsible for it. So
I see what you
it just
mean.
seems like super weird to worship someone who couldn't have done otherwise.
I think a Christian would argue that's his nature.
Yeah.
He's not bound, but that's just his nature.
Yeah. No, that's fine, but it just kind of like bites back into the problem, which is that he really couldn't have done otherwise. And we don't typically praise people for things where they had no choice in the matter. Like if I, let's say I get like tied to like a car and somebody throws like a brick on top of like the acceleration, and then I go like zooming forward and I like kill a serial killer in the car. I don't really think I'm like praiseworthy for that. Like I don't think I did anything.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. So he says like the angels have no free will. They can only do good. Like that's what you're saying how God is. He doesn't even if he wanted to do bad, he couldn't. That's what you're saying, right? So it's like why are we gonna praise this guy, give him credit if that's his only choice?
Yeah.
It's like you ever heard they say a pacifist, you praise the pacifist because he doesn't fight or anything, but it's like what if he can't fight? He can't fight anybody. It's like, is it really praiseworthy? You would praise the guy who can beat people up, but chooses not to.
Yeah, probably, right? Like you would I think that in order to be praised for like any of this stuff, like you definitely need to I don't know. Oh wait, sorry, one sec. I got distracted, sidetracked. Okay. Sorry, I'm back on track. Yeah, I agree with this. One sec.
Okay.
There's a like a philosophy paper on this exact topic, actually. I'm trying to find it.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I've never thought about the contradiction like that before.
How so?
There's a paper about the incompatibility of omniscience and being like a fitting object of worship.
Why can't something omniscient be fitting of worship?
I have no idea. I've never read this paper before.
Sounds interesting.
But there's reasons to be worried about this co-instability, as it turns out, depending on our commitments with respect to certain kinds of knowledge and notions of personhood. It might be the case that no being, God included, could instantiate both. Okay, it's not in the abstract. That sucks. The paper is titled Omniscience and Worthiness of Worship by Wesley D. Cray, published in the International Journal for Philosophy of Religion. Although I'm trying to find, this argument must exist somewhere. I'm trying to find it. Someone can up you. Oh, this one's interesting too. I don't know. I haven't read any of these, but that one's interesting. The paper that I glanced over was saying, like, if you can't be benefited by worship, then it doesn't make sense to do it towards you.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. If you're if you lack nothing, you should require nothing.
Yeah, I think that's compelling. It's not clear what would motivate God to create in the first place.
His nature, they would just say that probably.
But why?
But they would
is
disagree.
There, like, some deeper reason?
They would disagree with you that he's bound to that nature. Like, he could choose if he wants to, because he's been vengeful and wrathful in the Old Testament and stuff like that, which contradicts the bound by his good nature.
You don't want to say that it contradicts that. This is like, I've really enjoyed the conversation, so I'm giving you some advice. Like, for sure, you don't want to say that. Otherwise, God is non-existent.
Wait. Explain.
Yeah. Okay, contradictory things don't exist. If God took an action that leads to a contradiction, then God's just not real.
If he took an action that leads to a contradiction, he's not real.
If he always does good, but there are times where he does bad, well, then that's just a contradiction. Like, he just doesn't exist.
No, yes, I agree with you, and that's one of the things I'm trying to understand. That's one of the points that don't make sense to me about Christianity.
Yeah,
I lean more towards Christianity though than evolution, science, atheism, any of that.
You should for sure be a Christian. If you're gonna be a Christian, you should for sure believe in evolution, right? Like, that's like the quickest way to lose a debate is to try to, like, match your religion up against, like, evolution. There's just so much evidence for it. It's like overwhelming. I don't know. Like, you can look anywhere from our genome to the fossil record. I don't know. You can seriously look at, like, basically any aspect of biology, and it's just obviously evolved.
What if it's just adapted?
You would need to explain, like, the billions of years of fossil record and the way that the fossils change over time.
Forgery.
In some sense, you don't want to say that. That commits to, like, conspiracy theories.
Oh man.
Or maybe like God's a deceiver, right? Maybe God put the fake bones there to fuck with you. But then it kind of seems like God's not all good at that point.
Yeah, that's funny. But I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah. Basically, the way I see it, for you to think the pocket watch is no different from a rock or a stick is for you to look at a human being and think, oh, we just came here by coincidence. It's just
I don't think that
happen chance.
I think you probably wanted to say the other one. I think you probably want to say that the reverse way around. Are you trying to say, like, for me to think that we weren't designed is to look at the stopwatch and say that the stopwatch isn't designed?
I'm saying the human being is the stopwatch. So if you look at a stopwatch and you don't think that must have an intelligent creator.
I do.
Right? So now you look at a human being who's even more complex, you would have to think the same thing, unless now you're saying, oh, the pocket watch is no different from a rock.
I don't think that follows. For example, I think, like, the weather is super complex. Like, the factors that determine exactly whether it's going to rain, like the exact factors that go into all of that, I think that's, like, super complex. I don't think that means that the weather is designed, though, because I think that can be explained just with laws of physics.
But the weather is, like, always happening all around us, all over the world. Like, the pocket watch is like a singular item you come across. Same thing as a human being, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's like a question of, like, complexity.
Okay, well, I'll just say God created the weather too then. It's so complex. The golden ratio is found all throughout nature. If the earth was an inch closer or an inch farther from the sun, all of these things put together
that's false.
What's false?
The earth, first of all, every single year, the earth is getting, like, hundreds of miles farther away in terms of total, like, in terms of like the starting place of the orbit, but across like the course of just one orbit around the sun, what it takes, like we travel like millions of miles closer and farther away. Like we're literally like hurtling like hundreds of miles every second closer towards the sun or farther away from it.
Okay, maybe I just heard a lie, because I heard everything in nature is so fine-tuned that if anything was off, the ratio of the oxygen and the carbon dioxide, the distance of the sun to the planet, if anything was thrown off, we can very easily have not suitable life on Earth. All of this will just come to an end. You know what I mean? So
People
the
say
argument
that,
goes,
but it's
the
not
argument,
true.
I mean, how can you, they say that's what scientists can't even answer these things.
No. There's no scientist that claims this. Like if you ask them for a source, they won't be able to give you one. And I know this because, you know, I came into the God debate like a couple of years ago, knowing basically nothing. And I'm just like asking people for sources. And at this point, I've just identified the claims that are false and nobody has a source for. That's one of them. Like the claim that if we're like an inch closer or farther away, like it's just very not true.
Really? So science pretty much they have the answers. That's what they would say. That's the consensus in the scientific community.
Oh yeah. In terms of like the distance from the sun, like, yeah, basically the only reason, like the only connection between us and the distance of the sun is that if we're too far away or too close, there won't be liquid water, which will fuck up conditions for life. But you can be a fair amount closer. I think you could be literally like millions of miles closer or farther away with no problems at all. I think it's like tens of millions too.
Well, why are we the only habitable planet then?
We don't know that we are. There could be lots more planets
in our solar system.
We might be the only planet with liquid water.
So you're telling me there's such a range, there's so much room, but it's like we're the only ones.
Are we the only planet with liquid water?
Is there life on any other planets?
In the solar system. Yeah, Earth's the only one with stable liquid water in the solar system. But yeah, there's like certainly going to be planets elsewhere that are going to have water on them.
But you're saying like the Earth could be so much farther, so much closer actually, and it would be just fine. I'm telling you, we have planets that we can look at that are farther and closer and they're not fine.
Well, yeah, but those are outside of the range. Those are so the range I think is like maybe like 10 million or maybe 50 million, something like. I'll look it up.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That sounds big since we live on Earth, but in the grand scheme of things,
Goldilocks zone. God, these people are so fucking stupid. How big is an AU?
What's AU?
And it gave me fucking fake ass kilometers. Oh my God. This is disgusting. Now I have kilometers all over my screen.
That filthy metric system.
That's disgusting. Okay, so it's I don't even know. 10 to the 8th? What's 10 to the 8th? Is that million? What do we? I don't want to. I think it's like 10 million, 100 million? No. They're really gonna fucking make me do it.
10 to the 8th power.
1, 2. Yeah, 100 million. Yep. So it's about like 150 million miles is the Goldilocks zone.
Okay, in the grand scheme of the entire space, is that a little area or a big area?
It's in terms of all of space, it's like a tiny area. It's like basically nothing.
So, bro, you get my point. What I'm saying is basically the conditions for life are so precise, it would suggest that someone created all this, unless it's just a very, very unlikely miracle.
No, I don't think that that's the case, right? If we could be hundreds of millions of miles closer to the sun and nothing would change, then I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me to say that it's like finely tuned.
You just fact check that you're telling me that's true. We could be 100 million miles closer and nothing would change on Earth.
Yeah, basically.
I don't know if I buy that, but okay, for this conversation, sure. All right. So you're saying life isn't really finely tuned here. There's a big range.
Yeah, a huge range. Yeah.
So like the oxygen, the air, the trees that supply it, like the grass.
Yeah, those things are going to be like varying, but also I'll remind
the
you.
photosynthesis.
Well, wait. So we evolved into these conditions. It's not like the conditions like adapted to us. We evolved in such a way that we could survive under these conditions.
Oh, could we get into that, the evolution?
Yeah, there's like tons of evidence.
Okay, ready, Ian?
Yeah.
If say you're a dog breeder.
Yeah, I'm a dog breeder.
You breed dogs.
I breed
for
dogs
the next 1,000 years, Ian.
Sure.
Call it 1,000,000 years.
Yeah.
Are you ever gonna get? You could get new species. You could get a Schnitzer doodle. You could get a shepherd, right? You could get a Great Dane.
You get like a huge variety of things. In fact, you could probably get dogs the likes of which you couldn't even fathom. With like this level of selective breeding, you could probably get like extremely intelligent dogs if you give it like 1,000,000 years of like selective dog breeding. I actually think you'd be able to make like insane fucking progress.
Okay, right. And to be fair enough, a lot of the dog breeds that exist today, like these fancy breeds, they put them in the purse dog or whatever, they were created by that method, by crossbreeding different, right? You with me?
Yep.
Okay, but ready, Ian, guess what?
Yeah.
It's still a dog.
Yeah.
You can't get something new. You breed dogs for 1,000,000 years and now I have a parrot. Now I have you see what I'm saying?
Well, it's not going to be one of the species that already exists. It's not going to be like some separate species. But if you were breeding dogs for 1,000,000 years, trying to create different species that are no longer like sexually compatible, you for sure could do that. It wouldn't even be that hard.
Get a new species out of dogs? Get something entirely
like if you were
new.
selectively breeding dogs, you could for sure easily get new species out of dogs. That's like
we've done
trivial. That's like trivially true, right? Like 1,000,000 years of dog breeding time. We've only been breeding dogs for like 10,000,
and we haven't gotten anything new.
I don't think that we've tried to create new species of dog.
Well, they're definitely trying to make something,
breeds, but
that's why they're so fucked up and different. They're trying something, but it's still always a dog.
Well, I mean, would you separate between dogs and wolves?
There's a distinction. Like,
are they
one
different
are
species?
domesticated. I don't know. I think so.
They are different species.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a trivial counterexample. That indeed you could take this species and then breed it for like 10,000 years and you get a new species.
Oh, you're saying that's what we did with dogs?
That's what we did with wolves.
And wolves. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that is a good counter. Maybe you're right on that.
Listen, millions of years, the human brain sucks because we can't fathom like the length of time that things actually take. 1,000,000 years is an unimaginable quantity of time for us.
Fair. Okay, but what about this? Wait, so you believe in the dinosaurs?
What kind of a question is that? You're gonna break my heart, Nick.
Listen, I don't know, man. I don't buy it. The Bible just disagrees with all this stuff. They said so for evolution to be true, we started off as like two fish, two cells,
bacteria,
two bacterias, and they turned into
not even two, just one. Bacteria are asexual. They just split. Like a bacteria, just like I don't know the exact process, but they like replicate their genome, and then they create like two copies, and then they like split off.
Asexual, that's interesting, but there's still two then, right? But so there
was one and then it splits in half into two, each with its own complete set.
So we started off with one bacteria, right? And then we went to two bacteria, and then we went to fish from their tadpole, fucked up, retarded fish, and then the fish somehow made it onto land.
Damn. Okay, well, sorry. You gotta. All right. It's also time for me to go anyway. That's too bad. I really liked him. Cornhorn, thanks so much for the super chat. Is there a significant difference between an infinite series of causes into the past and an infinite series of effects into the future? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced that there is. Oh, sorry. Also, I'm releasing a new video. Let's publish the new video. It's titled "Temperate Tag Takedown: A Respectful Reality Check on an Orthodox Christian." Let's.
So it's outside of time.
Mm-hmm.
So he in himself is not within time. He's not deciding in a specific, like, he's not deciding. Wait. I need to be careful how I say that. Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? I like how, gosh, I love this. Totally stumped. But go check it out. It's on my YouTube video. It's on my YouTube channel. He's like totally stun locked. Okay. Metal Health, thanks so much for the super chat. $20 super chat too. That's pretty big. Let's get a big W for Metal Health. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well. Kane, thanks so much for the super chat. Have you ever seen the Minority Report? No, but I've heard about it. People tell me about that. Alanimus, thanks so much for the super chat. Joel Reed's Bible released a King David and Jonathan wedding song for the last day of Pride. It's unironically great. I wonder if Joel Reed's Bible would fucking roast my shit if I started playing it, if I hijacked it. We'll do a reaction video.
It's the last day of Pride Month, and I wanted to celebrate while I still have time with a little song I wrote, which is based on the beautiful wedding covenant that David and Jonathan share in 1 Samuel.
No, I won't steal content. You guys are gonna go have to watch it yourself, but you should definitely give it a watch. Simeon Sharon, thanks so much for the super chat. The oldest shark fossils are 450 million years old, older than Saturn's rings. Whoa, that's pretty crazy. I don't know, it's pretty cool. Local Serenity, thanks so much for the super chat. What do you say about scientists who have come to the conclusion that there are only things that are explained by a higher power? Didn't happen. And if it did happen, let's see it. Let's see the data. Bethos, thanks so much for the super chat. Still Pride Month, always wins. Absolutely. Big W. Local Serenity, thanks so much for the super chat. Is it logical for you to believe in anyone from history books without you meeting them? Do you use the same logic when it comes to science without verifying it yourself? I think you can believe things in history books. I don't think that you need to believe things only through firsthand experience. I think testimonial is a type of evidence, but it depends on the claim. I think testimonials for the fact that a person exists, that's a pretty low bar, establishing that a person in history existed. The bar for somebody like rising from the dead or something like that, holy shit, dude, that bar is like through the roof. Like you're going to need something like substantial to demonstrate a claim like that. So it depends on the claim. So I think that it's, I don't think it's like no evidence. I just think it depends on the claim. D20, thanks so much for the super chat. The cool Corey membership. Maybe God is cancer. True. Based. Bethos, thanks so much for the super chat. Thanks for kicking this cancer shill. Yeah, big cancer. Texas Panhandler, thanks so much for the super chat. Okay, pretend like you don't know what a beach is or where sand comes from, and you find a watch. True. Casey, thanks so much for the super chat. I watch your stream in every possible universe. That's good. But the one where there is no sin, it wouldn't exist. Game Guy, thanks so much for the super chat. Cranking it with Ian, hashtag CIWI. True. Kurt Fell, thanks so much for the super chat. First of all, if you have a problem with people who crank their hog often, I'm in the wrong place. Listen, I just think it's fine. It's permissible for all my virtue ethics readers. You know, we're doing a reading group about Rosalind Hurstouse's on virtue ethics. I don't know if she ever talks about temperance, but speaking of which, the next one is going to be when? It's going to be the 11th, July 11th is the next one. It's the chapter on irresolvable dilemmas. We read the chapter about resolvable dilemmas, and then we had just a fascinating discussion about shame and whether or not there's ever like a time and place for shame in your life, whether or not that is like a place in like your moral, emotional landscape. It was super interesting. But yeah, so okay. Temperance means that you take like the right kinds of enjoyment out of different things. I just think that cranking your hog all day, every day is not taking the right kind of pleasure out of it. You're not putting it in like the proper place in your life. You're doing you're doing too much. You know, you got to give back. You got to make something of yourself. You can't just live in the fucking goon cocoon all day. Bethos, thanks so much for the super chat. I do frown upon sometime and then feel better. Why would God create this enjoyment if it is left unused? Collar does it too because everyone does. Well, that's true, right? Like, obviously everyone does it, but you know, that's kind of the silly thing is like when you're talking to like an anti pondering the orb Christian, they're just gonna like pretend like they don't do it. Like, be fucking serious. Kurt Fell, thanks so much for the super chat. Sorry, I gave a bad presentation of creation needs a creator. Let me pivot to your morals. Based. So based. Bethos, thanks so much for the super chat. Golden ratio is not found in nature at all. There are just a few approximate examples, and we adapted to the ratio of oxygen available. That's true. Yeah. In fact, every time I look into an example, it kind of like falls apart instantly, so I'm pessimistic. Reverend Nate, thanks so much for the super chat. Golden ratio equals the number of beers before you break the seal. I don't get it. Alex D plays, thanks so much for the super chat. Giraffes' unnecessary looping nerve, whale vestigial legs, and shared pseudogenes are classic evidence for evolution. Yep. Nobody ever has like a good response to it. They're just like very blatantly like fucking like inexplicable things, right? Like there are just things about bodies, like obvious inefficiencies that are like just bizarre, and there's no way to explain this under intelligent design, right? Like, Reverend Nate, thanks so much for the super chat. Imperialists insist on oppressing matricians. So true. Bear Peace, thanks so much for the super chat. That perfect design BS drives me bats. In the Bible, God demonstrates he knows embarrassingly little about the earth and physics and very little about human and animal biology. What are you talking about? You think rabbits don't chew the cud? Beaver Nationalist, thanks so much for the super chat. Hopefully this will go to helping you recover. Aw, that's sad. Beaver Nationalist. I'd bet I'd fucking fold you in half, Beaver Nationalist. You should join the debate sometime, such that I can like break your nose and then post it for content. I suspect you'll pipe the fuck down though. Thanks for the $5. Bacon and Bush, thanks so much for the super chat. Enclidius is a moon, but it does have liquid water. Look to the moons for life. Also, water is required for life as we know it, but ... That's a good point. There presumably could be forms of life that don't involve water. Or, of course, God could have made electrons and love, so. Danielle, thanks so much for the $20 Venmo. I appreciate all super chats, but the Venmo ones especially because I keep 100% of that. YouTube takes 30% of super chats. TikTok, it's like TikTok I think takes like 50% of gifts, something like brutally like fucking like greedy like that. But like what would you expect from TikTok? I get to keep 100% of the Venmo. I appreciate that. Big W for Danielle. Keep being awesome. I found you through the YouTube atheism algorithm, and my kid found you through TikTok. It's been fun discussing, it's been fun discussions about logic in our house lately. That's so cool. I love that. I love that. I don't know. That's really, really cool. From the bottom of my heart, I'm glad that I can bring those discussions to your family. I'm really, really interested in logic, logical consistency. That's so cool. I'm glad to be a part of the family dynamic, something that you two bond over. One day that's going to be me, and I'll have to watch like Mr. Beast with my kid or something. Unlived, thanks so much for the super chat. With the eternally creating argument earlier, considering Christians always get caught up on the eternally / always, does the argument still hold if it's discussed in terms of states? It gets a bit weird because let's say you have this unchanging state. That's just one state. So, okay, but let's say you like lay out the progression of states and God exists eternally. That would just be one state. And then the changes start happening, and then that's when the new states come. But it's kind of weird, right? If you lay it out on like a state-by-state thing, there's like a first state where God exists, and there's just nothing before that. It's so strange. I don't know. It's kind of a mind fuck. One Zoom is a site with a tree of life that you can explore. Okay, maybe I'll give it a look. Leaf, thanks so much for the chat. I'm autistic. Does your autism help you debate? Yeah, definitely, for sure. I'm like autisto hyper fixated on shit. But okay, I just dropped the newest video on YouTube. Go give it a like, go give it a subscribe. It's allegedly Ian on YouTube. If I didn't get to you today, we keep a record of every single person who was in here from the previous debate, so you'll be at the top of the list. I love all of you. I'll see you all later. Go check out my newest YouTube video. Give it a like. Do all that good stuff. I'll see you later.